folks, welcome back to Live in 5, episode number 12, the Thanksgiving Turkey Day special. As always, your co-host reporting live from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona on the ones and twos here, DJ Swish, joined by Gage Azo Osmus and our producer, Jackie Ferda Mason, brought to you always by 10K Takes, Butter Golf, and Mini Movers. Folks, Butter Golf is the official lifestyle and apparel brand of the Live in 5 podcast. And boys, before we get to our interview today with insider and a jack of all trades, if you will, from the National Hockey League and the Fourth Period magazine, David Pagnotta. Great interview, folks. I think you'll really like it. But first, let's get to our weekend recap. Azo, what's up, brother? How we doing Tuesday before Turkey Day? Tomorrow, obviously, Super Wednesday, one of the sneakiest nights in all of sports and the whole year. But let's start with the weekend. How was the weekend, bro? What'd you get up to?
Yeah, no, weekend was great. Didn't do much. I put up a Christmas tree in my place. I kind of stayed off the sauce. I kind of knew this weekend would be a little bit of a bender for myself. You know, obviously you mentioned Super Wednesday. Super Wednesday, you know, it's kind of one of the best nights in America to drink. You know, everyone's thinking about Turkey Day the next day. You know, you got Black Friday coming up, buying all that shit. So I figured this weekend was going to be a big one. It's kind of a funny week in America where kind of, you know, people still work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but it's like kind of half-assed working because you're like, the holidays are here. I'm throwing up my Christmas tree. Starting to get cold. It's dark out when I drive to work. It's dark out when I drive home. There's no reason for me to take this seriously right now. You know, I'm thinking about Christmas and Thanksgiving. So it's kind of a funny time of year. I always like this time of year. You kind of like lay back and you're like, it's holidays. Like you kind of just take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit for the year, kind of relax a little bit. And, but no, yeah, I'm excited for this weekend to come up and especially Super Wednesday. You know, I've got a 23-year-old girlfriend who's begging me to go to the bars with all of her friends, you know, so that'll be fun, you know, get back in the bar. As a 28-year-old and kind of flirt with the young kids, kind of show them the ropes, you know, type of thing. So pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in on that quick, just touch on Super Wednesday, man. Statistically speaking, the most DUIs every year is given out on Super Wednesday. And for what reason that is, I think you kind of just touched on it, but just everyone gets drunk, usually with their high school buddies. You kind of go to you know, if you're in a small town, you're going to the same bar. It's kind of like a decade in terms of the people you're going with. So the people from my example would be, you know, kids that graduated in like 2007 high school to all the way to like 2017. So you get this hodgepodge of people kind of in that decade frame that know each other. And it just seems like every year you just get absolutely tattooed. And I've actually never attended a Super Wednesday just playing, you know, all these years, Ozza, but I might have to dip my toes in. I'm going back to Madison tomorrow, and you know what? I might have to tip into the old Draft House in Verona, Wisconsin, just to see what's going on. I'm kind of scared of it because who knows? Hopefully, I get a ride there because I don't want to get the Dewey Cox on the old, you know, on the old, you know, I don't need that on my resume per se. But yeah, it's always a hilarious night. You get snaps of people that see each other. It's like the one night a year. Even like before Christmas, I don't think guys really get together with their high school buddies, but for whatever reason, it's always before Turkey Day.
It's not as much, and it is an ultimate meat and cheese night. You know, it's like,
Yes.
you know, you see like I'm sure it's the same for Mace too, and everyone out there. Like you go to these bars where you see your old high school buddies and people you graduated with or went to high school with or grew up with in the same hometown, and you kind of, you know, right when you see them again, you're like, this is kind of awkward, you know, and that's why everyone gets so pickled because you kind of just got to get drunk to talk to these people because it's like kind of awkward. It's like I know you, but I don't really know you anymore. So it's awkward now unless I'm hammered. And then once I'm hammered, I'm really going to let you know, what I'm up to, what I'm thinking nowadays, what I'm doing. I'm going to give them my whole life story when I'm 10 drinks deep, 12, 15 drinks deep. And that's when I'm going to start complaining about shit, political stuff, shit you did in high school. That's when I'm going to bring up all this stuff. And then, yeah, you usually get a good night out of it just talking with those people that you really realistically only see once a year, maybe once every 3 years.
It's so funny, man. It's just you get in those like awkward conversations, and What is the movie where it's the Adam Sandler movie or whatever when he calls like that guy, from years back of school? What movie is that? It's Big
Billy
Daddy. Or no,
Madison.
it's, Billy
Billy
Madison. Yeah, Billy
Madison. Yeah.
Madison. Yeah. He calls Crazy Eyes. I don't know what his character is in Billy Madison, but he calls him, he's like apologizes for all the things that he said to him in high school, and he was a bully, and then, he
Crosses him off the people
crosses
to
him
kill
off the
list.
list of, like, the 2 kill list, and Billy Madison sure as shit was, like, number 4 on that list, but it's always just such a funny time and those awkward conversations. You're talking to a guy, like, you don't generally I don't know, this might sound mean, but do you really care what this kid's doing nowadays? I don't know, you have a couple buddies you might still talk to, but you see someone that you haven't talked to in 10, 15 years, now you're diving into a conversation 9 whiskeys deep, and he's telling you he still works at the same Jiffy Lube, and you live here, now he's divorced and all these problems, and all of a sudden you're in a fucking just blender. So I think it's just hilarious, those conversations, Super
Yeah.
Wednesday.
You're walking up to like one of your old buddies. You're like, "Hey, what's that guy's name again? Fuck, I should
He
know it, but I don't. So just, do you know his
right,
name?
'cause
Should I ask someone else?"
right, because
Yeah.
he swallowed an airbag at this point. He's got a Michelin tire around the barrel. His face is fat as shit, and it's just like maybe he has purple hair now. Who fucking knows? But it's always just so funny to get involved with those conversations. It's like going to a wedding, a similar vibe of someone getting married from high school, and you're like, oh my god, that's fucking Tommy Two Times over there. That's Jimmy Smith. It's like, oh Jesus, I got to go talk to him. It's like, holy fuck. So those are always funny. But Super Wednesday, boys, low and slow. If you're going to be attending Mace, I want to throw it over to you though. Like, what was up for the weekend this past weekend, brother? And do you have any plans going into Super Wednesday?
Weekend was pretty good. Actually got off early for once for work, which was nice, and took a trip over to Balsam Lake, Wisconsin. Went over to my buddy's cabin, and yeah, just took the weekend easy. Played a little beer darts in the yard. Um, we even tapped into a little night games after a few drinks, so it was a really fun weekend. Get the boys back together, and
You took it easy, Mace. I saw you guys were using cell phones as pillows. That doesn't really necessarily mean you're taking it easy over there, eh?
Yeah, would you because you cross state lines, you're not even taking it easy. You're not at a bar in North Loop.
well, the drinking didn't slow down, but it was a kickback weekend. I had the feet up. Well,
Right.
I guess I couldn't even say we had the feet up, but
It does
yeah,
kind of
I don't
feel
know.
it does kind of seem like that though, Mace. When you're at the cabin, you can have 20 drinks, but you're like, yeah, I kind of had a relaxing weekend. Didn't go to the bars, still had the same amount of
Oh
drinks,
yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, we ended up doing 2 beer runs on Saturday.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
So
you
yeah,
always do.
and you were sober enough to get the candid butter shot of the butter golf hat though, the one I'm wearing right now actually. So,
Oh
at
yeah.
least you got that right. Nice little picture by the lake, photogenic picture. So maybe you were
Hmm.
taking it easy. You were able to use your phone and post a picture. So that's a win
Yeah, yeah.
for
Kept it
sure.
under 20, so yeah, it was pretty
Right.
good. I could
Yeah.
actually text and like type on my phone, so
Right.
yeah.
Stayed out of the bar for the most part. So that's a win. That's funny, man. But no, that sounds good. Boys over here in Scottsdale, where'd the weekend start? Thursday, I guess it started. We did a hockey night in Scottsdale, little show. We went full gear, me and the Heat Daddy, so that got some good reviews. It's just hilarious. That was my first time put on the gear in about a year, and it happened to be on my couch. Like you're sitting there, I'm getting dressed before I'm going on a live stream.
Yeah.
I'm not even in live action, and I'm tying down my fight strap on the back of my breezer pant, and I'm like, "What the hell am I doing?" Felt good to have I had the skates on too. Those actually felt pretty good. I might have to dust those off and go skate
Yeah.
here soon. So that was good. Friday, I actually had to run back to LA. I was there all week, and then I had to go back for some sampling for Butter Golf. Got some big things in the works, but it's just taking a little longer than I expected. So you know how that goes. And then Saturday, it was give me the green or I'm running the red. I went full Rusty Wallace right through the goddamn wall at the Indy 500 over at Moxie's. Me, the Heat Daddy, Biz actually showed up, and we had a life coach to kind of just balance out the three of us degenerates. So that's always good. So shout out to Coach Dar. She was in the mix. She's a beauty. And then, boys, on Sunday, I went and saw Jeremy Piven, aka Ari Gould, aka Dean Pritchard. And before the show, I attended this little event where it was kind of like a private gathering or a little dinner, kind of a meat and cheese type event where it was a private event. It was kind of like he was there to kind of meet all the guests. It was probably like 20 of us. And that was cool, man. It was just you get around like an A-lister kind of like that. And he was so short, it was crazy. Like he was listed at like 5'9", but I'd say he's about 5'7", five
Oh
six and
yeah.
looking. I mean,
They all are.
he had a huge head. Like his head was half of his body. It was like a buffalo head. I was like, holy fuck, fella. Standing next to him, I was like, dude, your head is literally half your body. But it was pretty funny just to, you could tell he was gassed. And I didn't know he was 58 years old. Like, he looks pretty good for being 58. And
He's
you just gotta
58.
yeah, you forget how old like that guy is.
Jesus.
He said he didn't really make it until he was like 37 years old. Like that was like his
Yeah.
first little get, and I believe it was Rush Hour, and then he transferred over from there. He's been in like 40 movies.
Snakeskin, buttercream.
Yes.
Let me go in.
Yeah, and then I was giving him the one like from Old School, right? Like cheese.
Yeah.
Didn't we lock you in a dumpster? He's like,
yeah, I got out.
I got out. So that was funny. Dean Pritchard is an all-time character. So I actually got to chop it up with him a little bit. Obviously touched on Entourage, just telling the boys back in the day, like that was our show, Ozzy, and I'm sure it was the same for you. Like that's why you wanted to make the National League, was to watch that show and then relive it, because at the time of us growing up, anywhere from 12 to 18, like that was the show to watch. And even in college, man, like just watching that show was like, my God, like this is so sick. If you could recreate this in any way, like that was.
And that guy's the best. That guy's the best character on that show too. I mean, that's an iconic role that he played. It is my favorite TV show character of all time. Ari Gould, Jeremy Piven playing that part. It's an incredible job of acting, and that guy is such a legend, man. I like, is he like that in person? Like, I can't picture him being not Ari Gould in person.
No, that's just what it was. And he's like, people always come up to me and are like, wow, you're like way different in person. He's like, yeah, because I'm fucking acting. And he's like, we kind of got into like how chill he is, and like, but he's like, when the lights come on, he's like, I fucking snap and I drop the anchor and I drop the hammer. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool to hear. And we basically talked about that. And then we kind of got into like Kevin Dillon, Johnny Drama. Like there's guys that are just themselves and then they're the character. He's like, that's how Johnny Drama got his role in Entourage, is what he was saying. He like walked in to the audition. He's like, yo, bro, where's this audition at? And like, they're like, boom, you're hired. So it's like some guys are just able to play themselves. Yeah. And when he knows when the lights are on, and he knows when to just drop the hammer and go, and it's showtime. And it was pretty cool. He was talking about like growing up in Chicago, his mom was his acting coach, and he would recite all of his lines with her, even like those Entourage lines of talking about, Lloyd getting cum dumped on his face, different things like that. And I just thought that was so cool to like have someone in your corner like that, and your mom, you're going over all these like illicit lines. It was crazy to hear. So
you got to have it from somewhere, because I just, small side part, but I just filmed a small, stupid little commercial for Mini Movers, and it was literally what I think you guys probably saw it. It was like 30 seconds, 45 seconds long. We had to take like 25 shoots of this thing because I couldn't remember all the lines. It was literally it was like half a paragraph to say, and I couldn't remember. I'm like, when that camera turns on, I mean, you got to have some balls to be back there and like be able to turn it on like that. It's not easy. Like you think it's like, oh, I could say this stuff and act like this. It's like, that ain't fucking easy, man. That's fucking tough.
100%. He was even saying when he filmed Rush Hour 2, he was the gay dude in the department store. And Chris Tucker, they were shooting it in a Versace store in Vegas. And Chris Tucker, for this one line, he only had one line in the whole movie. And it took him 77 attempts to do this line. He said Chris Tucker like would answer his phone in the middle of the shoot. He'd be like, hey man, like, yeah, I want some Chinese food. Like, Jackie, what do you want? It's only
because he's taking right? So long.
Yeah,
that'd be so stressful being the guy, like you're kind of like a secondary actor and you got these big timers in front of you and you can't nail the line. And like director's like, all right, do it again. It's like, fuck, like,
yeah,
Jesus.
That's what I mean. Like he was talking about, he's like, I want to nail this line because this is going to set me up for hopefully another role down the line. And Chris Tucker's not even taking it seriously. He's like, hey, Jackie, you want some Chinese food? Actually, that's just food to you, right? Like it's just like, he said he was just like all over the place, hilarious. Just like, yeah, it's crazy to think about that. But the last thing I wanted to touch on just talking about this was I had that NASCAR jacket out on Saturday night and I had my batting gloves on. So I was in full character at the bar and I showed him the picture. I was like, hey man, like I got a little bit of character in me too. I've been kind of doing this my whole life where I'll show up to a bar and in an ultra ego and clay and I'll throw a mullet wig on and I'll go out and sit at a nice restaurant and just be in full character all night. And he's like, yeah, I love that. He's like, but remember, never go full retard, so he's going Tropic Thunder. I mean, I was loving that because that, as you know, Ozzy, that's one of my favorite lines. Like, yeah, you can dip your toes in, but I don't even know if you can say this anymore, but you never go full retard, right? You don't buy that. As Sean Penn, 2001, I Am Sam. Went full retard, went
Went
home
home
empty.
empty handed.
It's like that. That's an
You know,
all-time.
Forrest Gump. Forrest
Yeah.
Gump. It's good at
But
good at ping pong.
yeah, won a ping pong championship. So yes, retarded maybe. Um, One thing I want to talk about though before we get into our Week 11 recap in terms of the NFL. So last week, Snoop, we touched on it a little bit. I think said he was done smoking, and it was all for show. And everyone knew like it was a little suspicious. Like, does this guy have health issues? What's going on with Snoop? Does he have, did he smoke his lungs to a point where the chimney just it blew up? But it was all for show. And did you see that he's doing like it was basically for an ad campaign for this smokeless fire, Ozzy. It was like a campfire that's like a smokeless, like electric heater fire kind of thing. Did you see that at all or no?
I didn't. I saw him say he's done smoking, and I thought, I looked at the calendar. I had to double check. I'm like, fuck, is it April right now? Are we coming up on April 1st? This got to be a fucking April Fool's joke. Cause like Snoop, I don't know, like I went to Vegas recently, you go into these dispensaries. I went into the biggest dispensary in the world or whatever. It's in Vegas. You walk around and Snoop's got his own line of, like whatever fucking they sativa and all these different weeds and shit. It's like, dude, the guy's life is funded by weed almost. And that's his mantra. And it's like, this guy's quitting. So I thought it was a joke the whole time. I was like, there's no way Snoop's done smoking. Like, I think about, Willie Nelson. So I'm thinking like, okay, Snoop going through some like health issues where he can't smoke or whatever. And it's like, I look at Willie Nelson and it's like, Willie Nelson's been smoking for 90 years. It's like, I think it's okay. So I think Snoop's okay. So I never really believed it. So I don't know too much. I didn't look too much into it.
Yeah, Willie Never Not High Nelson. If that guy's still chiefing the dog, the DOGG is still going to be doing it. I forget the name of the company. It's like Solo or Soul or something like that. But I mean, talk about just a genius way to get attention, all eyes on you. And then now you're promoting this product of a smokeless campfire kind of thing. Sheer genius. So, boys, before we get to our NFL talk, I want to touch and give a shout out to the Montreal Alouettes of the Canadian Football League. They won the oldest trophy in sports. I don't know if you caught the game-winning drive, Ozzy. In the CFL, it's only 3 down. So like on 3rd and 5 with 20 seconds left, they ended up converting it for like a 20-yard gain, get the first down, I believe. They score on the next play. Guy almost fucking runs into the field goal post because it's like in the middle of the goddamn end zone. Scores. They secure it against the beloved Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I just think that league is hilarious in general. My ties to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, being the fakest, realest fan of all time. So Montreal Alouettes, I think it was the 110th Grey Cup. They take that down just in a hilarious league. I mean, it's a 8 or 9 team league. And these guys celebrate as they should, like they're winning the goddamn Super Bowl.
And you saw, I was pulling for Winnipeg there because, we got one of our UND boys, Brady Oliveira, the running back for that team. I think he won. It's funny. They have Mace. Did you see that? They have they have like the best Canadian of the league and then the best player because everyone's from America because it's football players. So Brady Oliveira won the best Canada player of the year. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not too often you see a North Dakota football player kind of gets, getting the headlines of football, whether it be the NFL or the CFL or whatever. So that was pretty cool to see him. I know he's out there, saving dogs, and that's kind of his mantra is, adopting dogs and saving them and social media about it, which is great. I mean, he's done a pretty good job for himself. So I was pumped to see him. I kind of wanted him to get another one. I think he's already won one before, but yeah, that league is hilarious. Like you said, there's like 8 or 9 teams. It's the field goal post is in the middle of the touchdown, in the middle of the end zone. You can run into it at any point. Yep. It's 3 downs. You can take a running start at the line of scrimmage before you snap the ball. It's hilarious.
You can like kick at any point you can try to kick it through the field goal uprights too. Like a running back can just kick it. I believe it's like 1 point or something. The ball is shaped like a beach ball, but like almost like a rugby beach ball. It's huge. They can barely grip the thing. It's just a hilarious league. The Ottawa Red Blacks. I mean, what a creative name that is. So the Canadian Football League will always have a special place in my heart. I just always think it's funny when you played with Canadians over the years, They actually took that league seriously. So Getting over to the NFL, wanted to touch on Joey Burr, done for the season. Boys, this sucks. Joey B exited the game, I believe, in the second quarter with a apparent season-ending wrist injury. Russell Wilson, though, on the other hand, late game drive to lead the Broncos. Broncos country, let's fucking ride. Don't look now, fellas. The Broncos are 5-5. That was against your guys' bike. So I want you to touch on this. I believe, Ozzy, you maybe even picked this game for your lock of the week. So what were you thinking in the dying seconds or the dying minutes of that game when Russell Wilson led the boys down? Actually, a nice dime he threw to that backside of the left part of the end zone there to secure the win. Dobbs, he had a chance at the end, but just wasn't in the cards.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't know what Mace saw, and I'm sure he watched as well. But the Broncos look good. The Vikings defense is good. Now the Vikings offense has weapons and they have good play calling. Now let's be honest, Josh Dobbs is not. He's played in so many teams. I mean, it's already proven he's played his heart out the first two games or whatever. And I don't think he was that bad this game either, but I just, for some reason, when Russell Wilson got that ball to go on that drive, I just knew they were going to get a touchdown. I don't know why, I just had that feeling. Like you could, when you're watching the game, you're just like, they're going to score here, aren't they? Because Russ is playing pretty well right now, as much as we hate to admit. I know we chirped the guy, Danger Russ, Bronco country, let's ride. Like this guy, I know we chirp him, but he's playing pretty well. I mean, you look at his numbers, you look at what he's done a pretty good job. So, I just kind of knew that was going to happen. I don't know. It was obviously heartbreaking because the Vikings have control the entire game, and then they go in, and then obviously they score, and there is no way Dobbsy's going to bring him down. I mean, he's already had so many miracles. Even his touchdown pass in this game, he escapes another miracle tackle and gets out of it and passes it to the tight end. I forget his name because it's not Hawk. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not too confident coming into this week because I'm coming into this Monday night football game against the Chicago Bears. And I watched the Bears play the Detroit Lions. They look pretty good. And all I see online are all these graphics and all these, people talking about Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, who once he got the job, he gets on an interview, a press conference, and he's like, we plan to take the North and never give it back. And ever since he said that, they are 0-9 against the NFC North. They haven't won a game against the NFC North teams. I've seen too many graphics. I've seen too many shit. The Vikings are losing to the Bears on Monday night. It's already confirmed. It sucks to realize, but that's just what's going to happen after all these graphics come out. It always happens. It's like when the announcer mentions that the field goal kicker hasn't missed in 50 tries, or this quarterback hasn't thrown an interception in 14 games. It always happens then. Field goal kicker misses the kick, quarterback gets an interception. The Bears are going to get a win in the NFC North, and it sucks to realize that, but it's reality. I am going to shout out Brian Flores though, because the Vikings defense went from the worst defense in the league last year to top 5 this year, and they lost a few of their best players on defense, and they didn't really get anyone better, and now they're up at the top. I mean, it's just clearly Brian Flores is an absolute wizard with the defensive scheme that they have and what he does with the blitz package and what he brings. He's just unbelievable. There's no way he's in Minnesota next year. He's going to get a head coaching job somewhere. It sucks, but it sucks that we wasted this year with him here, because I think if Kirk is still playing, we have a pretty decent chance at making some noise in the playoffs. But now it's like, I mean, we're just playing for wins right now, and obviously I want wins. But I mean, we can ask Mace what his thoughts are on this because he's a big-time Vikings fan as well.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see like any of the game because it was the Sunday night game, and I have hockey during Sundays. But from the clips I saw, I mean, I don't know if I'm putting it all on the Vikings. I mean, there are a couple dirty plays that I saw or whatever with that one Josh Dobbs fumble and whatnot, but I don't know. We're in a weird spot right now, so I don't know. We'll see how this year rides out, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought we should have just tanked in the first place after losing Kirk. I mean,
Yeah,
tank,
but
get a
it's
nice
so
draft pick,
hard.
and then
It's so hard to tank though because you're like, I mean, if we do get a draft pick, what are we getting? I'd rather just kind of win. I know it's a tough battle to get. It's like, what do you want of the Packers? I'm watching the Packers, Jordan, and I just won't say I don't want to get into this now, but I'm watching the Packers. I'm like, holy shit, Jordan Love looks pretty good. If you look at his numbers,
Yeah,
he's
that's
pretty
why I wanted
good.
I wanted to transition, stay in the NFC North here, and just talk a little bit to Jay Love because at the start of the season, 3-4 weeks in, I kind of had the same message. I'm thinking now is, yeah, he doesn't look perfect. Yeah, he doesn't look great. There was a couple rough weeks there, but again, it's a rookie finding his footing. The team lost, a lot of their good players, especially their left tackle and David Bakhtiari, done for the season. But I just wanted to see how this thing would ride out in terms of what can he bring us. I didn't want to make a change midway through the season. I didn't want to jump to any conclusions because you can tell the kid has talent, but is there any consistency and can he build towards something? And maybe we can reevaluate at the end of the year. And I mean, last game, man, he just gives you that little glimpse of or glimmer of hope of like this guy could be pretty good. And then everyone's back on the J Love train of like, oh my god, like as a Packer fan, like this guy's unbelievable. It's like whoa, let's pumpernickel the brakes. We're about 10 games into the season here. Let's see what he can do on the back half when the games aren't as meaningful because I mean, unless they go on an absolute run, they're pretty much a write-off, right? At 4-6 or whatever they are
Yeah,
right
I
now.
mean they're
So
done. Yeah.
they're done. I think they're cooked, but I don't know. I just don't want to make up my mind on this guy until I see it through for a full season, see what he can do. Maybe his body of work changes, and then you reevaluate when you get to January, February, and you make a decision what you're going to do. But right now, I think it's still too early to say. As crazy as that sounds, I think you need to give the kid the full year, see what he can do, see if he can build off this week and go from there. Because right now, I mean, it's just an up and down roller coaster. And to this point, I still don't know if he's any good.
No one knows. I mean, and I'm looking at Casey Perp is one of my good friends, a huge time Packer fan, and I'm like, hey, I mean, you see Jordan Love right there. I mean, the Chargers, like Mace has always told us, the Chargers have a pretty good fucking defense this year. Jordan Love just had 300 passing yards against him, and he played pretty well. The Packers haven't had a 300-yard passer in I think it was like 22 games or something.
Yeah, it was something
So
like
I
that. I
mean,
mean, he was 27 for 40, 322, two titters. Like he looked good back there, and that's like a decent team to beat in terms of, yeah, I know, they're a little bit rocky too over there, a little rock road, but I don't know. I just think you got to give this guy a little bit more of a look. I think he's got to keep going, keep progressing. I don't know if you make a coaching change at the end of the year. There's a lot of questions with that organization, but let's just dumb it down. Let's see how he does week to week. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Green Bay. Obviously that's a team close to my heart. But Ozzy, I wanted to touch on next, getting out of the NFC, going over to, well, down to Miami, baby. Party where the heat is on. Tyreek Hill. I mean, this guy's on pace for 2,000 yards. He had another game on Sunday. 146 he went for. Right now he's at 1,000 yards, just over 1,200 yards. It's like 1-2-2-2. Just I mean, 7 games to play. I know they play an extra game, but there's never been a receiver to go for over 2,000 yards. And right now, man, I think he's going to hit that mark. I know he's banged up a little bit. He said he can't really play Fortnite right now with that thumb injury or whatever he's got
yeah,
going on to his hand. But this guy, if he gets 2,000 yards, I mean, I don't know. I just think this guy, he's mint. I think you watch a game like that yesterday in terms of Philly and KC, like that's a guy they really miss, man. I don't know if you go back and forth, like who you rather kept in between Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill, man, I mean, the guy's mint.
yeah, he's one of the best to ever do it. I mean, it's tough to, I've always, being a Vikings fan, and I'm sure you, Jordo, as a Green Bay fan, you're like, okay, Tay Adams is the best receiver in the league. Vikings fans are like, hey, you know what? Justin Jefferson's the best in the league. It's tough not to say Tyreek's not the best in the league. I mean, you watch the touchdown he had Sunday. He was right in the middle of the pack there, and he just blew by him like he was a goddamn cheetah. I mean, it was like stupid. Like he was right in the middle of like 5 guys, and he just ran straight by him. And it was like, holy shit, this guy is electric. If he
I
reaches
get that.
2,000, man, If he reaches 2,000, I'm willing to say the Chiefs lost the trade. I thought they won it last year when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they got a goddamn Super Bowl out of it, but holy fuck, man, this guy is unbelievable. How do you talk about the NFL right now? People are saying, I don't know if you guys watched the Monday night game last night, Chiefs versus Eagles. People are now saying Jalen Hurts is the favorite to win MVP. Jalen Hurts has 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I don't know. He's got rushing touchdowns, the tush push. How are we not talking about Tyreek Hill as the MVP of the league? There's not a quarterback out there that truly deserves it right now. If you're telling me, what's his name on fucking Philadelphia is going to win the MVP with 15 and 9, that is a joke.
No, I don't. But they always favor quarterbacks. It's just how it's always been. But yeah, you can't be giving Jalen Hurts the MVP if Tyreek Hill gets 2,000 yards, something that's never been done by a receiver before. Yes, they have the extra game now, but in my eyes, Tyreek Hill, if he gets 2,000, that's the lock. So we'll see on that, Ozzy.
How many MVPs? How many MVPs in the NFL haven't been quarterbacks?
That would be a great stat to look up. It's not many. That would be something for the stat pack back there. Someone snapping it around for us, but I don't know how many there would be off the top of my head. I can think.
I'm looking it up right now. It says
Adrian Peterson. Was Adrian Peterson the MVP of the league one year?
I think he was. Right? It says 9. It says 9 since 1990.
Okay, so 33 years. That's crazy. So roughly.
Yeah, AP was 2012. He was the last one. AP 2012.
So basically 70% of the time it's going to be a quarterback the last 30 years, roughly. Not a math guy, but a math guy. Yeah, that's crazy. And if he does it, how do you not give it to him? But someone I wanted to transition to, Ozzy, not a player, but a coach. And this guy's straight out of Motown with nothing but soul and pride, baby. Dan Campbell. Did you catch this guy's post-game speech? I mean, what a nail gun. He's got the ball in the middle of the room. He's fucking celebrating. You could tell he just wants to play. He's chomping at the bit. He is so genuinely proud of his boys, like they're his own. Like they're his own cubs. Like he's a fucking bear. This guy is just like a lion. No pun intended, but oh my God. To play for a guy like that has that excitement, I mean, you want to run through a wall for him. I think if I'm playing in any sport right now, Dan Campbell might be my number one coach for us. If I could pick any coach right now, it might be DC. This guy, man,
for sure.
The boys just love him.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, I remember there's a lot of critiques on this guy too. I mean, a lot of like analysis and a lot of people who watch film, they're like, hey, this guy he's not actually that good of a coach. Like his schemes and all this, like, they're not that smart. I mean, it's like, well, how much does that actually matter when he gets all the players to play at their full potential? Your schemes don't really matter much when these guys are fucking rolling. And that's what he's got the Detroit Lions doing. He's got every guy in that team bought in, and they are rolling. And it doesn't really matter what the scheme is. It doesn't matter. They're going to run through you like a goddamn brick wall because Dan Campbell hasn't prepared to do just that.
Yeah, I just think this guy, the way he coaches, it's not even what his X's and O's would be. He's got me bought in just from the jump of who he is as a person. Like, that's a football guy through and through. That's a guy that's willing to put his chin on the line and just start chucking. So, DC, we'll see how he does against my Packers. We're going to get into that a little bit in terms of locks of the week going into week 12, especially our Turkey Day special. But, boys, want to go over just quickly our week 11 picks. Ozzy, let's start with you. Go over your picks and talk to me through it, baby. I believe you had that Vikings, and then I think you had one more, correct?
Yeah, I had one more. So I did actually win the Vikings bet, which I'm indifferent about because they covered, but they lost. Now, I'm trying to think of what my second one was. Mace, do you have that second one at all, or do you remember what it was?
Cincy +3.
Yeah, I had Cincy +3 and Joey Burr out for the season.
Tough.
Not looking good. Not looking good for Cincinnati. They're probably done for the year. Yeah, the Ravens looked good. I called that one wrong. I thought Joey Burr was going to get pissed, not lose two in a row. I don't think he would have, but he was out. I think he
Yeah,
came
that
into
one was
that
a
game.
write-off.
You know what? I'm a little bit in Dave Portnoy's position here, where did you see Portnoy put down like 67 grand on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl or something? And coming in this game, there's that little shot from the Cincinnati media team that filmed Joey Burr walking into the stadium with the wrist cast on or something. So he must have been injured before the game, and then he couldn't even throw the ball after that, and he's done for the season now. So man, that
I think that's
sucks.
an injury he's been Darnell nursing for a little bit of
Yeah,
time now, and it just caught up to him. And I don't know if that's a medical staff thing. I don't know if that's Joey Ice Trade just gutting it out. Probably a little bit of a both, wanting their guy to play in. Burr probably saying, just give me a fucking perk, daddy. I'll get out there and gut this thing out. Maybe a Toradol shot. But yeah, it sucks when you lose a big time guy like that, especially just walking the red carpet, getting off the bus, just for the picture. I mean, this guy walking into
yeah.
the stadium. I mean, holy panty soup fella. So I guess you went 1-1. Mace, what was your pick again?
I took the over in the Titans Jaguars game. It was 40 and a half, and that hit. It got 48 points. I
Yep.
didn't get to
Oh,
watch the
you
game either,
hammered it.
You hammered it.
but oh yeah, I knew that was a lock. It looks like it was a straight blowout. I slept through the whole thing because I was so hung on Sunday. But
Love the honesty.
um, yeah, it looks like it was a blowout, kind of what I expected. So yeah,
Mace, you might have to keep picking these over unders.
Yeah,
That
you
was
might
an
just be the
absolute
over-under
that was an
specialist.
absolute lock.
I'll try to look right now and see what we can do for this week.
Yeah, get something dialed in for the folks. Going over to Swish's pick, KC money line. Boys, that was a Monday nighter. I was watching that from Mullet Arena with a mullet on. Actually, was mic'd up at the Coyotes game, but yeah, I was watching that a little bit in the suite there. How are you? Lost to the Eagles 21-17. Wasn't perfect. Patty Mahomeboy 24 for 43 had 177, two titters, one interception. It just seemed the game film I saw. I was kind of flipping back from that game to the Desert Dogs, the live action playing the Kings. Just seemed like that was a bit of a muck fest. I think Kansas City honestly has some things to figure out in terms of what they're gearing up for, what their team makeup is. I think the Eagles obviously look strong. They're 9-1, but Kansas City, like I think all years, they're going to find the screws. They'll be okay moving forward. But going
They
over
just they just
to
have to find some receivers that can catch the ball. I think that's pretty
yeah,
much.
Holy shit!
I know, and
Yeah,
I
they just.
they need
I
to take a
mean,
little. They need like an outside threat, like yeah. Kelsey didn't go up the middle. They don't really have
at
anyone
what
on like a
at what point do
goalie
you
out or
at what point do you put the blame on Mahomes for throwing the ball too hard? Maybe these younger guys coming up are a little softer than you're used to. You got these hardcore guys catching Brett Favre balls, but
well, that's what I was gonna say.
nowadays you might have to put a little touch on it.
Well, I don't know. I'm a big believer in Brett Wrench pick Favre because that guy would used to throw that nugget about 65
Oh,
miles an hour, and that thing would just pierce
guy was
guys'
Clayton
skin.
Kershaw out there.
Oh my God, he'd be throwing two seam, four seam, just pissing on balls. So I don't know. I think if you're in the National Football League, Ozzy, it's like in hockey. Never give a bad player, you never give a good player a bad pass. And normally
Exactly.
you got to have that thing crispy and it's got to be flying across the ice. So I think
That
the
was my
quicker,
dad.
right. I think the quicker that ball gets to you, the better,
Yeah,
right? So, you have a little bit more time. Maybe you get hit.
yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of
You
different factors.
you
Get
should
that
be
thing
able
in
to
there
catch it.
and
You
go Uncle
should
Rico.
if
Yes.
you're an NFL wide receiver, you should be able to catch that ball. And
Yeah,
that's
you
what
should
my
be
dad always told
gunslinging
me.
that thing,
He
100%.
always
So,
told me when I was younger, when I was watching those games, and I'm like, that was kind of a tough pass. And my dad was a collegiate football player, and he's like, that ball hit his hands.
yep, you
He should
got
fucking catch that ball. He's
it
getting
hits your
paid
mitts.
millions of dollars to catch balls in the National Football League. What else is his job? That's all he's got to do is run a route and catch a goddamn ball. And if he can't catch it, we'll find someone else that can.
If it hits your mitts, you got to catch it more often than not, even if it's your fingertips, baby. So, going over to our Selly of the week, I'll start us off. I had Jay Reed from the Packers, little 32-yard scoop and score. It was like a little end around, nice little play. He's able to take that right into a Lambeau leap. Ozzie Mace, I just love seeing just something about a classic Lambeau leap. Good, give the good people of Green Bay that are sipping Fireball whiskey out of their little nips, sneaking them into the stadium. Give them something to smile about. Keep them warm. I love that. And that other Selly, I think you maybe had written down, Ozzy. We can talk about it because I want to touch on it. I don't know if it was your Selly of the week, but when the Lions secured the game and got that safety against the Bears, Aiden
Yes, yes.
Hutchinson booting the ball out of Ford Field straight to fucking Jupiter was unbelievable. I mean, what was he thinking? I love
Unbelievable.
that shit.
Yeah.
Pushes the ball out, grabs the rock, and just fucking kicks it. Like, that was
Punts it.
unbelievable.
It's always so fun to punt a ball too. That's why it was a great celebration. You know, he's pumped up. They won the game and he's like, give me this fucking ball. I'm booting this shit. You know, like it's kind of like being a guy. You know, you see a ball, you either want to throw it or kick it. And that's, you do either one of them. It's just guys being dudes.
Guys being dudes. Brings you back right to the gridiron in like 6th grade in between recess, and you just could not wait to punt that nugget. But what'd you have for your Selly of the week over there, Ozzo, sitting in the greater Minneapolis Twin Cities area?
Yeah, I had the Aiden Hutchinson written down, and then I had Devin Singletary, the Namaste. I don't know if I took that one from you, Mace, but you know, he scores the touchdown and he drops the ball and he leans over and does the Namaste. I just thought that was sick. You know, I love that little, you know, subtle, just you're calm, cool, collected. Cause I know when, you know, I played football and I played hockey. When I score a goal, when you score a touchdown, you are fucking fired up. And for me, it was tough to like keep my, you know, attitude and keep it cool, keep it calm. I was always like, let's go, jump into the glass, like jumping to my boys if it was football. This guy scores a touchdown, he immediately calms down, puts the football out, drops it, namastes, kneels, you know, bows to it, and then walks off. Nails. I loved it.
That is a nice Selly. Just, hey, thanks for coming, fella. Here's my best Buddhist mink job. Thank you. And Nama Furta. Mace, what'd you have over there, baby?
Yeah, I had Tommy DeVito, quarterback for the New York Giants. I mean, first of all, kind of a cool story for him. Hometown guy, lives right across from the facility or the
Lives at home,
stadium
Mace.
or whatever. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, I mean, he's getting the bag and living at home. I mean, I don't know if that's nails or what. I can't. I still can't figure it out if it is or not. But yeah, he's getting that bag. But I had to go with the Selly doing that little Italian finger, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, just like the little emoji, you know, just holding it out. Yep. That was a great Selly.
After tossing a dime, so.
How funny is it, Mace, that he lives at home? His mom's making him, you know, probably vodka sauce chicken parm. He's got the chicken cutlet out. He's got the rigatoni. I mean, that's so funny. I think his excuse early in the year was he couldn't find rent closer to the stadium than where he lives now, which in probably all reality is true. But something to be said, going home to Ma and Pa after playing in the National Football League is hilarious on all accounts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny, but
it's hilarious. It's like you think about this guy, and I've seen people chirping him for it too. There's guys chirping Tommy DeVito because he's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to go home. Life's pretty good. You know, I'm going to go home. My mom still makes my bed, does my laundry, you know, cooks me dinner. And there's people online chirping this guy like, hey, mommies, try to teach your son to grow up, you know, make him make his own bed and do his own laundry and cook his own dinners. It's like, listen, ladies, if I'm at home and my mom is willing to make my bed and do my laundry and make me dinner, I am not going to tell her, no, Mom, I'm a grown-up. You can't do that. I'm going to let her do all of that stuff for me. I'm not going to, it's just so, it pisses me off so bad. I see these women like, you know, moms, you shouldn't be doing this to your kids. You should be telling them to grow up. Fuck you. I can go back to my mom's place. She can make my bed, do my laundry, and cook me dinner all she wants. She loves it. I know that for a fact. And she doesn't want to stop doing it. So I'm not going to tell her to stop doing it. And then it's funny. My mom's calling me right now on that. Should I get her on the episode or something? Like, she's calling me right now. It's hilarious
Ever
that I
weigh
just
in?
mentioned that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tale as old as time in the Italian family. It's like your mom takes care of you until you find another bird willing to do so.
Yes.
It's old
Where you
school.
can have
It's
another
Tommy
girl
DeVito.
take care of you.
Tommy
It's the
DeVito is
best.
probably his favorite movie is probably Goodfellas, right? It's Tommy DeVito, spaghetti bolognese, Goodfellas. This guy's just the classic New Jersey Italian. So, boys, wanted to stay on football just for a little bit before we transition into our little Week 12 segment that I think is going to be pretty cool in terms of a little draft. Lock of the week for this coming week, the Turkey Day special. I've been watching this game for, I think, as long as I can remember. Actually, one year I was driving to Detroit for a hockey tournament, going up to play, I believe, Bell Tire, CompuWare, all those fucking teams in the greater Metro Detroit area. Stopped at a Quaker Steak and Lube just outside of Gary, Indiana. Me and my dad locked in a Packers Detroit game because it's every year. It's either at Lambeau or it's in Detroit. This year it's at Detroit at Ford Field. Packers coming off a decent week. The line seems a little steep for me. I think it's a good bet this week. I know I haven't been perfect, but plus 7.5 for the Packers, the Turkey Day special. I will be watching from the couch in Wisconsin, Madison, just on the east side, my folks' place. So I'm taking that boots on the ground in Wisco. Yes, I know they're in Detroit, but I'm going with the Packers plus 7.5. So lock that in for the green and gold, baby.
That to me is the lock of the century. How
Right?
are the
Plus seven
Detroit
and a half.
Lions? How are the Detroit Lions favored by more than a touchdown? I mean, they just
That's what I
there's
think
no.
too.
They just battled the Bears at home and they just beat them by what, one score maybe? Like, there's no
Right.
way.
That's what. And Jay Love with a little confidence. So
Yeah,
Ozzy, what do you got? What are you looking at? Are you looking at that Monday nighter? I know you were talking bad about your boys, thinking they're going to lose to Chicago on Monday night. But if you're looking at a game, and maybe if you're looking at a Turkey Day game, it doesn't have to be. But what are you seeing in terms of what's standing out right now for a lock for you?
yeah. No, I wanted to go with the boys, the Vikes. I wanted to go with them. I actually wanted to hedge them again. You know, I said I'd give myself one or two of those a year. I was going to take another one, take the Bears plus 3.5. I'll have that be my second one, but I do want to put some. I do want to put something on the line on Turkey Day, just because obviously we're all watching on Turkey Day. It's the best day to watch football. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Commanders to cover 11. They're plus
Okay.
11. They're
Okay.
plus 11 playing the Cowboys.
Playing the
Now I
Cowboys.
know I know the boys are good this year, and Dak's got them rolling a little bit, and you know whatever. I just think 11 points is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean they're not perfect, the Commanders, but maybe 11 on Turkey Day. If that's a lot to give. I mean they got to win
It's a
essentially by
ton,
essentially got to win by 2 touchdowns, right?
and
I mean,
it's disrespectful. I know the Commanders suck, but they have Sam Howell. They're not that bad. I mean, 11 points is just ridiculous,
okay, so
especially
we're
for a
locked.
Thursday night game.
Yeah, and it's just Turkey Day too. It's a family gathering. It's a family affair. I like to think that one might be tighter, maybe 10-point game. So we'll see on that. Mace, what do you got for your lock? Could be a Turkey Day game. Could just be an over under, brother. You're hitting on those.
I mean, I didn't get a whole ton of time to look at the lines today yet. I've just been doing it while we've been recording, but I'll do another over under here.
I
I'll
like
Yeah,
it.
let's
take
go. Let's
I'll
go.
take over under Jags versus Houston. I mean, Houston's got a good offense. Jags got a good offense. I don't really see that being a huge defensive battle. So I think that's gonna be high scoring. And
Okay.
the line is
What's the line
at
on that?
47.5.
40, I was gonna say. Okay,
47 and a half.
47 and a hook. Lock that in. Couple offenses there. I like it, boys. Let's get into so we have our locks there. Let's get into we want to do a little something fun for the folks. I believe you guys did it last year on the has-beens, and Jackie can kind of take it away after I just explain it a little bit. But essentially, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little snake draft in terms of the Turkey Day games. We have Packers, Lions, Washington Commanders, Dallas, and then we have the Seahawks and San Fran. So basically, Mace, what it is, jump in anytime you want, but we're going to draft a quarterback, a wide receiver, a running back, and then a flex position. So the highest PPR would win in terms of fantasy points. But jump in here, Mace, and kind of just talk us through what we're going to do in terms of a snake draft, and we'll get it going.
Yeah, pretty much that. Full PPR scoring. We're going to do a snake draft, quarterback, running back, wide receiver flex, pick only from the 3 games.
And then just
And put a little wager on it.
highest total
Lowest
wins.
team.
Yep. Okay. Lowest team's got to do something. What are we thinking for that? I still owe Ozzy his bottle of Belfour whiskey from the Packers Vikings game. That was over at Lambeau. I took that one on the chin. But what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Something funny? Like, what do we want to wager? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was thinking something of like you got to post, whoever loses has to post like you have to take a mirror selfie with the shirt off, and you have to like edit it to black and white, and then post it on Instagram, and then your caption has to be something motivational, like, you got to work hard every day, 100% of the chance, 100% of the shots you don't take, you miss. It'd be so
something
funny.
like that. Some just crazy Dwight Schrute or Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky or David Goggins like quote.
And you can't say like you lost a bet. Like you gotta act like you're serious. Like, yeah, no, I'm completely
tough.
serious about it.
That's a tough one. That strikes the ego chords.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to stop eating for a week if I lose this one.
I better start working out. I'm like 6'3", 150. I got nothing but skin and bone on me.
That looks better than my Michelin I got around here. Fuck.
Better have a good draft.
Yeah, you gotta dial this in.
We'll think on that. Let's talk it out. Maybe we come back to it at the end of the show. But right now, I mean, I'm willing to do it. But let's think on that. Let's get a draft going. How do we doctor up this draft? Are we going oldest to youngest, or what are we doing here, Ozzy? Or are we just going random out of a hat? What do we want to do?
Yeah, no, let's go oldest to youngest. So
okay. So I get first pick.
So you get first, I get second. Mace gets 3 and 4.
Okay.
So he's actually sitting in a pretty good spot. So yeah, that'll be fair.
So I get 1, and then Mace gets 2.
I get 2. I get 2.
Yep.
Mace gets 3 and 4.
Okay.
I get 5. You get 6 and 7.
Okay. All right, folks, drum roll, please. With the first overall pick, I am going to take out of San Francisco Christian McCaffrey. Going him 1 overall, boys.
Yeah, you'd almost have to be brain dead not to take him 1 overall.
Yes, sir.
Man, this gets kind of tough.
Gets a little dicey, Mayo. A lot of good players out there. Actually, some really good competitors this Thursday.
Some good competitors out there. I'm gonna go CD Lamb.
Ooh, okay. Off the board. Okay, got you there. Scratch him off. How are you?
All right. For me, I'm gonna start off with. I'm gonna take Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
Okay, you dirty dog.
And then I'll take Dak.
Ooh,
okay.
Dak TV.
Like
okay.
It.
I like that.
God, who am I gonna go? Who am I gonna go with? On my second one here. I'm gonna go Deebo Samuel.
Okay. He's playing, right? Confirmed?
Yep. He's playing.
Deebo Ferda. Now I'm up. I got 2.
Yep. Back to back.
I am going to go. Fuck. Do I stay on the San Fran train? I'm going to go Ayuk.
Oh. You're battling me on that Samuel pick because Ayuk could take. I mean, he looked good last
week. Nice week.
That guy looks good, man.
I know. I know
looks good.
It might be a little high for him, but I'm riding San Fran, and then I'm gonna go. Fuck. I'm gonna go for my Joe Flex. It's crazy to say this, but I think he's gonna have a decent week. I'm gonna go golfer, even though I'm going with the pack, covering 7 and a hook. I'm gonna go golfer.
Good pick. So I need a quarterback. I'm not gonna pick a quarterback because you guys already have quarterbacks. You have golfer. Is Aaron Jones playing? He's not playing, is he? He's injured.
Yeah, I think they said he's out.
I think he's out.
Boy.
I can check for you.
Oh, I know what I'm gonna go. I
Yeah,
picked
he's out.
I picked the Commanders to cover. I got the Commanders to cover, so I got to go with one of their guys just to kind of hope they pull something off. I'm going to go Brian Robinson Jr.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Junior.
All right. Back to me for 2. For my running back, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay.
And then for my flex, I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to take Sam Laporta,
Okay.
tight end for the Lions. I love that man. He's a dog. Absolute dog.
Ooh. Mace, hopefully you're right on that one because he's on my fantasy team, and I actually traded away Justin Jefferson for DeAndre Hopkins, Laporta, and Deebo Samuel. All three for one package there. So I'm hoping Laporta has a nice night.
The old
Maybe
3
not.
for 1, like Joseph A. Bank. 3 suits
Yeah.
for 1. Classic.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm actually hoping Laporta actually has a bad week because I'd rather lose my fantasy than have to post a shirtless picture on Instagram or something.
Yeah. Shirtless is shirtless
That's brutal.
Is tough, man.
That's
no joke.
I mean, you're
That
gonna
is
look
no
like a
joke.
loser.
You almost
You remember
you're
those?
almost more
you
comfortable
remember-
going wrench out, getting flagged for it, getting it taken
I'd
down.
almost, yeah. I'd rather go wrench out, no face,
Right.
than have a shirtless picture on Instagram where I'm like trying to flex or something.
Yeah.
And then I got all the boys, they see it and they're like, look at this fucking loser. You think this guy thinks he's sick?
I still don't know on that bet. Who's up here? Is it you, Oz, or is it me?
I got Robinson. I think it's me now. So I got to pick a
Yeah, it's
quarterback.
Gager.
Yeah.
So
You got
Goff and
Lover,
Dak.
Lover Purdy.
Goff and Dak. Man, I gotta go Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Okay.
Mystery relevant. I'm gonna go Brock Purdy.
Okay.
No. You know what? Can I take that back? Let me take that
Yeah,
back.
sure.
It has went on. I'm taking Jordan Love.
Okay.
Lions
off the
defense
board.
sucks.
Yep.
Defense sucks.
Going J Love.
Then for your flex, Jordan.
My flex, I think I'm going Montgomery, boys. Running back out of Detroit. So I'm going with 2 Lions and 2 San Fran. Jesus, I'm all over the place. So got a little bit of a hedge, but nothing crazy. I'm locked in there for my flex.
So you're hoping Montgomery gets the touches over Gibbs?
Yep. I really am.
Wait, and Mason's
he's
got
gonna-
Mason's got St. Brown, Dak. Who are the other 2 you got, Mace?
I got Dak, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, and Laporta. Gage has Jordan Love, Brian Robinson, CD, and Debo. And Jordo has Goffer, CMC, Ayuk, and Montgomery.
I'm hoping he punches like 2 or 3 in at the goal line. Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that back feels weird. I don't know.
I know.
I was trying to trade for Montgomery all season, so I like them both.
Have you guys heard why is Detroit giving all the touches to Montgomery when Jahmyr Gibbs is clearly the better player? I mean, he's unbelievable. When Gibbs gets the ball, he's all time.
I think I think it just goes back to Dan Campbell. I think he sees
Are they
something in
trying to
Montgomery.
save him?
I don't know if they're
Yeah,
trying to save him or if he's just like a heart and soul guy, dude. I don't know. I can't make up my mind.
I mean, Montgomery's kind of a horse, though. That
That's what I'm
man.
saying. He's a nail gun. Like he's a gun back.
Montgomery is so nails. Did you see him? Did you see him on that last play when Gibbs scored his second touchdown of the night last weekend? He Campbell put Montgomery in. They're on like the 3-yard line. They throw Montgomery in and he runs past Gibbs and he's like, "Hey, stay on the field. This is going to be your touchdown."
Yeah.
Montgomery sent Gibbs back on the field to get the touchdown, and he got his second touchdown. Like, this guy's a fucking player, man. Like, he's cool.
I'm just thinking it's going to be a greasy game. He's going to punch a few in at the line, and we'll see what he can do. He's just a nail gun. I want him on my team.
But I mean, Jordan, let's be honest. How are the Lions favored by 7.5? Their defense is so terrible. They barely beat the Bears. The Bears are terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's a Turkey Day special, boys. So we'll see. We got to pick up our bet. We'll talk off the air. If we're going shirtless pick, that's a lot on the line. Like I said, I think I'd rather take a picture of my hose and George W. Bush than go shirtless. But we'll see. Let's get over to nail gun of the week. We're wrapped up there, right?
Yeah.
All good. So let's get over the nail gun of the week. I will start us off here, fellas. I have Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is so back. Eldrick, the waitresses at the local Jupiter, Florida Chili's must be helping Tiger's leg and just overall state of mind because this guy is back swinging the fucking sticks. Looks good. There are reports that he's walking even better. So the leg, not only the third leg, must be feeling better. He's set to play this coming week in the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. It's Tiger's tournament. So, man, I just can't wait to see this guy. I got into a deep rabbit hole of Tiger this week. There was a couple things that Golf Digest posted. There was a funny one before he won the Masters in 1997. He was playing at Isleworth, which was actually Cookie's course, boys, when we talked to him earlier this year before the Ryder Cup. But he was playing with a round with like Mark O'Meara. And he ended up the week before he won the Augusta, the Masters, he shot 59. And I think he started off like 10 under through 10 and ended up parring a few in there. So it could have been spookier than that. Then the next day he goes back. He goes off the backside again at Isleworth with Mark O'Meara. I think he birdied 10, aced 11, and then birdied 12. And O'Meara just like walked off the course. He said, "Fuck you, I'm getting out of here." So good to see the GOATs back. I can't wait to see him. We'll see how he plays, but just a nail gun, man. Every time you think this guy's backed into a corner, he's fucking dead. He falls off a cliff in a car. Somehow he makes his way back, and can't wait to see him out there. He's great for the game. So, Tiger, you are a nail gun and the GOAT, buddy. Keep going, fella. Azo, who'd you have for your gun of the week?
Yeah, so, I mean, Jordo, that's a great nail gun of the week. Obviously, I mean, Tiger's the biggest nail gun of the week almost every week. My nail gun of the week is Hardo Hockey Trainer 101. You'll see him online. He posts these, viral TikTok videos and these videos about, training hockey and how to, he teaches all these how-to videos about, 8 to 12-year-old kids, and I saw one of his videos. He's talking about creating space or whatever. That's good. And then he tells the kids in one of his episodes, in one of his videos, he tells the kids, never pass the puck unless you have to. And once I saw that video, I had to mention him as the nail gun of the week, because that is so nails to tell these young players, never pass the puck unless you have to.
How sick is that?
That is so nails. That is the sickest line I've ever heard. Like, kids, you are so nasty. Just never pass the puck unless you have to. That is just unbelievable advice, and the parents love it. And I just wanted to mention that because that is all-time stuff. I mean, you're telling these kids, like, hey, each one of your parents is paying $1,500 for this ice session. You never fucking pass the puck unless you have to. That is the most nails shit I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, like, I'm gonna come out and say that guy's a moron. And whoever's actually using that guy as their skills coach or someone to lean on for younger players, and I'm sure he has some stuff that's decent. There's some good skill work in there, but in what state of mind passing is the biggest and most important thing you should be working on as a young player? Because if you can't pass the puck, I'm telling you right now, you're never going to play at any
You're
fucking
done.
high level in
You're
any game.
done.
If you can't pass that fucking puck in ball or in hockey, you're not going to play. And if you can't receive a pass, and this guy is like talking about how if you should never pass the puck unless you have to. And I love his accent, unless you have to. And they'd be
Unless
like,
you have to
take a move, go wide, and then 10 hard strides. It's like, dude,
go wide.
never in the game are you just going 10 like hard strides with a crossover. Like, yeah, maybe a little bit out of the corner, but in what world, Ozzy, are you just doing crossovers all over the sheet? Like this guy, I mean, I guess
Dude,
if he's
I
making
was
his
I was
bag doing this, but
I was
it's
legit
idiotic.
I was legit brought up. My skating coaches would tell me never cross over. You lose speed when you cross over. Do not cross over. You're going to lose speed. Don't do that. This guy's video comes out. He's like, if you're outside the zone and they enter the zone, take 15 to 20 hard crossovers and you're back in there. And it's
I love
like,
his I love his voice.
what are you
too.
talking?
I love his,
I had to mention it because I was battling with these people all weekend. I had tweeted out something about this guy's clip, and for some reason it went a little bit viral or whatever. They got like 1,000 likes or whatever and fucking 100 comments, and people are liking it or they're chirping me like, "What are you talking about? This guy knows what he's talking about. He's unbelievable." And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you think he's unbelievable, good for you. That's great. All I'm saying here is this guy doesn't know what the fuck hockey is. He has no idea. He's never, I don't know where he went, where he ended up when he played, but the things he is saying on these videos doesn't translate to hockey. That's why I make
No.
fun of it. Like I'm not trying to get on any guy's ass who's putting in the time and putting in the effort to train kids in hockey because no one likes doing it. The guys that do that shit, I love you guys. Thank you guys for training these kids. I don't want to do it. No one else does. If you guys are doing a good job at it, that's great. But this guy, I know he's raking in tons of money doing this shit, making these videos, and it's all just bullshit. It's all complete bullshit. And it's amazing that I have parents coming back at me like, what are you talking about? What he said is actually very valuable. And I'm
Well,
like, yeah, it might be valuable to you because you're 35 and you can understand it, but your kid is 8 years old out on that ice and he is not understanding a fucking single word that guy is saying. And you're paying that guy to tell that to your kid. That is a waste of money in my book. That's all I have to say.
those are also parents and keyboard warriors that never played the game at any sort of high level. And look, I'm not saying you have to understand the game you don't have to play at a high level to understand the game, but most of those people are just morons, dude. And including that guy. I train hockey, 15 hard stride. Like, dude, what are you teaching these kids? Never pass the puck unless you have to. Like,
Unless
what
you
the
have
fuck
to.
are you talking about? That was like the
Never.
first thing I learned. But yeah, so that dipshit, yeah, I guess all the power to him. He's making probably pretty good money off these parents that are willing to pay whatever. And he doesn't exactly hate to hear himself talk either, Ozzy. I think he just kind of gets on these tangents and he doesn't even know
No,
what he's
there's a
saying.
reason he bought the $600 mic that sticks to his chest where he can make these stupid
Right.
videos. I mean,
Yes.
he loves it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a
He
great
doesn't.
marketing scheme. I'm not going to say I disrespect this guy. He's making his money. He's doing what he can. He's a marketing genius. Good for him, okay? Because all these parents fall for all this stuff. That's great. I'm pumped for this guy, and if I knew him, I'd probably be friends with him because he's probably in the background laughing like, yeah, these parents are buying this shit up left and right. It's insane, but they're not. I mean, they shouldn't be.
Yeah. But anyways, Mace, what did you have for your nail gun of the week, bro?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an obvious one. I mean, this shit's so funny. I got to go with the guy who went tarps off during beer league. I mean, I've done it once or twice in like outdoor, when there's some skunks on the other sheet skating around, but
Yes, man.
I
Stiff
mean,
nipples on the sheet.
dude, that video is so goddamn funny. He's damn near full gear, but oh, yeah.
That is great. If you're going tarps off on the sheet, like you
Yeah.
just respect that type of level of compete because, if you're willing to get out there and go no tarp, and especially as a guy that's probably not in the best shape, like playing beer league on a Tuesday at 11 p.m. and you got to go home to your wife and lie to her why you got home at 2 a.m. because the boys had a long shower instead of having 15 bush lights in the parking lot. Yeah, that's awesome, right? Like that's all the power to you, buddy. Keep rocking. I love that. Beer league is one of the funniest sports ever. I will never play beer league hockey. I'd rather go run fives at the local Lifetime Fitness and get my hoops in. But that's just me because I think beer league, I just think there's way too many hazards out there. And I'd probably
Oh.
get pissed off and end up just slashing a guy across the head like I did in the Finnish league and got suspended 4 games for. So, folks, that is a different story, but I do play with a little criminal. Anyways, boys, let's get off the nail gun of the week. Let's move right along to our Turkey Day special portion of this episode. And, there's always little things that people do for Turkey Day. You get the family together, and yes, you have your stock options of the turkey, the gravy, the stuffing. But what I wanted to get into was your guys' Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving sides. And I guess I can kind of start to give you a little bit more context, but things that you like on the side of your plate. You're loading that thing up with, like I said, this or four staples. But for me, my Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving sides has always started at the top with a breadcrumb mac and cheese. Something that nice, just gooey mac and cheese. It's heavy. It's going to fill your barrel up. It's probably going to clog an artery or two. And then it's just topped with that breadcrumb to give me a little bit of crunch on that nice hearty Wisconsin cheddar and American cheese mac and cheese. So I always would say that would probably be my number one. Number two would be a sweet potato casserole, Ruth Chris style, boys. So what that is, a little cinnamon sugar, maybe even a little marshmallow in it, a pecan crust. Sorry, talk much, but it's just unbelievable. It's like a dessert. This to me, I think, is so good. I would just load that thing up, whether it was me making it the last couple of years, maybe my ex roommate, maybe my mom, but a nice sweet potato casserole, and then probably a standard garlic whipped mashed potato. Just that has to be stock. It's got to be creamy. It's got to be juice. You need that. Just a little touch. Hey, how you doing? Something that's going to be, making you bury a couple farts on the couch later as you watch the NFL. So that would be another option. And then I think number four for me would be a nice, crispy, salted and peppered, not too much, and a little butter, a green bean. Something just about a green bean and just something to tell myself that I actually had a vegetable that day that was green, I think goes a long way as I've had my fourth bottle of Camus or red wine and I get on the whiskey and now I might piss the bed at my parents' place because I'm so goddamn cockeyed and it's only 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So, boys, I
Yeah.
think that would be my four: the breadcrumb mac and cheese, sweet potato casserole, garlic whipped mash, and a nice just green bean, baby. So, Ozzy, I'm going to throw it over to you. What's your Mount Rushmore of sides, bro? What are you loading that plate up with?
I'm going to throw this over to Mace quickly just to give myself some more time. I think I have mine nailed down, but I want to hear what Mace has to say before I spit mine out.
Yeah, so my number one, it's got to be stuffing. I mean, I'll go back for 3 or 4 helpings of that shit and just scarf it down. And then classic mashed potatoes and gravy. I mean, I'll even put gravy on my stuffing
Yeah.
too. I know that's not too crazy, but and then a
100%.
little green bean casserole always hits different. But then my last one, this might be a little weird. I've been known to have some weird food takes, but black olives, just plain. I mean, I'll sit there and I'll just pop those fuckers in for an hour or
Black
so.
I
olives?
love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
Are you a
black
psycho?
Yeah.
olives.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a little bit of psycho.
Oh my
dude.
god! Really? Just popping them like it's an edible, like just
Yeah.
flipping them back like it's just like nothing. Just black
Ever since
olives,
I was a
nothing
kid,
on it.
nothing. Ever
Oh
since I was
my
a kid,
god!
like they would have like a fucking tray of like green olives, black olives, whatever, like other like shit you put on top. And me and my sister would grab the tray, bring it over to us, and we just eat all the black olives.
Oh my god, that's an acquired taste. I've always tried to get into the olive game, but it just something with my palate. Like I look at an olive and I like almost run for the hills. So Mace, you're just sitting at the table. You could be watching football. You could be hanging out playing Schnarples or any sort of card game, and you're just popping
Mhm.
popping some, with a your olives with a
Yeah.
beer or wine or whatever it is?
I mean, shit. I mean, it's usually only on Thanksgiving or like maybe like a Christmas or like,
Right.
holiday dinners and whatnot. But oh yeah,
Wow.
I'll sit there and I'll just pop those fuckers in.
Wow, I love it. You're fucked 3 ways to
Yeah.
Tuesday. I know that's not
I
insane.
also
People, I like my cousin likes olives, but I don't know if they're just going bare knuckle like that. Like, just really genuinely like the taste. So, hey,
Olives are great, man. They're unbelievable. There's a
oh yeah.
reason there's an olive
balls.
bar at the Whole Foods grocery store. There's a full olive bar. It's like
I'm out.
whenever I see that thing, I'm like, holy fuck, people like olives, eh? Like Jesus.
Oh, especially
There's a
like in
full-on bar.
martinis. People like
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
people like stuff those with cheese and they got all of this sort of like, oh my God, no, I'm out, boys. That's
I'll
funky
prove
butt
I'm a
love. Oh,
psychopath here.
yeah.
I also eat the peanuts with the shell on.
Yeah, that's just not good for your lining
Oh,
of your
you
stomach.
don't. No,
Yeah.
you don't,
Yeah.
Mace.
I
Shut
have
up.
videos of it. Yeah, I
That's
always
just
do it.
You
that's
eat
just
you
not
eat
good.
that shell. You eat that
Yeah.
shell.
Fucking
That's just
Peanuts.
not
toss it
great
in
for you.
just like an
You
olive.
think it's good? You like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Oh
tastes
my
better with the shell
God.
on.
Well, I
Really?
know the shell's nice because it's nice and salted, but just, speaking from
That's
a
kind of like
pure
that's
science,
kind of
that
like
can't
me
be
with a
great for your
kiwi.
intestine, when you're
Yeah.
choking that down. Like, I don't even know how you shit that thing out. Does it come out stock? I don't even know. So, wow. Wow.
He's just
Wow.
he's shitting out a shell to poop.
Oh my
the
God.
poop's got a shell around it.
Holy fucking Johnny Shell gas station. Jesus Christ over here. What are you
Oh, that's
what are you
awesome.
working with? What are you working with, Ozza? Like if you're going home to Mama Goose, or maybe you're
Yeah.
playing a road game this year with your roommate's family, like what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Like I
So
said, you have the
I'm a
stock options, but
yeah.
what something else?
I'm a big balsamic Brussels sprout guy.
Okay,
You
Russell Wilson.
put that balsamic oil on the old Brussels sprouts, cook them up, you roast them a little bit.
Yep.
Those are unbelievable. I'm a big fan of those. Whoever's got those, it's not always that people put balsamic on them and do them like that. But if I roll up on a place like that, I'm pretty pumped. And then again, I'm gonna go a little more fancy with my potato. I'm gonna go twice baked. I don't like that shit baked once.
Great.
I want it
Yes.
baked twice. I want it baked twice, man. It's not good enough once. So bake that shit twice. And I don't know what it does to cook it twice or bake it twice, but it tastes amazing. It's unbelievable. And then I do have to go with your traditional stuffing. That's an automatic.
Oh yeah. That's
And
on
and
there.
I always laugh about the Thanksgiving dinner because I think it's unbelievable. I love Thanksgiving dinner. It's great. I wouldn't change anything about it. But I also do have questions why do I not eat any of these dishes any other time of the year? This is the only time I make this dish. I never eat it any other month, any other week, any other day of the year. So it must not be that good if I'm not making it that often, but I don't know.
I agree.
Maybe it's just because it's Thanksgiving. Like I want to keep it there. I want to just hold it there and hold it tight. Make sure it's special.
It's
But the
Ozzy,
twice
it's
baked
always
tomato.
like funny, like turkey's not that good. And actually over the
No,
years since
turkey's terrible.
when I've been playing overseas, like I actually would go like a fillet steak instead of turkey, just because Thanksgiving's not as big when you're overseas and you have maybe a select crew of imports, and who even knows if
100%.
those guys are Americans or not. But one funny thing I wanted to touch on with you, and just in terms of these sides and different things, like when you go over to somebody else's place, or maybe it's just you were in college and you had to go over to a roommate's house. It's
Yep.
always funny people's little quirks and what they have. Like, no, I don't want your fucking tater tot hot dish or your jelly mashed fucking,
Yeah.
marshmallows and jelly and some sort of goddamn
Yeah.
concoction you made. No, Aunt Stacy, I don't want that bullshit. No, I'm not eating that. But then you feel almost rude or like they get offended if you
Real
don't touch
rude.
it. Now I'm putting it on my plate and I'm throwing it away when she doesn't look, and because she's a little lit up and I can get away with just chucking this to the dog or someone. It's like there's so many
100%.
gross little things, I think, that it's just not gross, but just like little weird things people do. Like, you want this Oreo Jello?
Yeah.
No, I don't want that.
Or even
No.
the sweet potatoes, they'll put
Yes.
marshmallows on the top of it, and I'm like,
Right.
guys, these sweet potatoes are good enough with brown
Right.
sugar and butter on them. I don't need marshmallows on top of them. That's
You
kind
want
of
my
like,
tuna
am I
casserole?
eating?
No.
Am I eating dessert or am I eating dinner right now? I'm
Right.
trying to eat dinner. Don't you have apple pie for dessert? Like I'm not trying to eat dessert right now.
Right. I
So
don't
what are you
want
trying to
your
do?
I don't want your, dark meat chicken casserole that comes with 60 things in it. I don't even know what I'm eating right now because it looks honestly disgusting. No, I'm out. Keep it simple. Keep it up the wall. Make a good
Yeah,
first pass, and I'll just take the turkey and I'll be on
yeah,
my goddamn way and let me pick what I want because I don't
yeah.
want your fucking bullshit. So it's always just
100%.
funny. It's always just funny
100%.
when those
It's the best. And
oh
then
man, it's
there will be people that will cook hams because they don't like
yes.
turkey, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
ham. It's like, it doesn't feel like Thanksgiving. But anyways, so I've got the fancy, balsamic Brussels sprouts. I've
Yep.
got the double baked potato. I'm pretty fancy
Great pick.
nowadays.
Yeah, great pick
You
with the
cooking
double.
that thing once ain't good enough. Cook it twice for me. And then I got the stuffing. And then my fourth one, I don't know if it's even considered a side, but I like a good bun. And
Yes. Yeah.
I need a good
Homemade
bun.
bun.
I need a good homemade bun with that Thanksgiving dinner.
Yep.
Whether I'm dipping it in the marshmallows, whatever you got, the cranberry sauce, the gravy, doesn't matter. I need that bun on my plate at Thanksgiving. And those are kind of the four bugaboos that I get.
Yep.
And then obviously it's whatever meat you get, you take. But you're right. People eat turkey on Thanksgiving. Turkey is not that good.
No,
Like I've
it's
had
okay.
like
It's hard to really
I've
perfect.
yeah, I mean it's okay if you make it perfectly, it's decent. I've all my family's honestly like we're all like turkey's not that good. Let's just get really good steaks for tonight. We're just having Thanksgiving together, and we get really good steaks, and it's like this was 20 times better than having a fucking turkey.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, no, Thanksgiving, boys. It's just funny how people, they do it different and they chop it up. And so we got Super Wednesday leading into Thursday, boys. Before we send it over to who we have on the show today in the Insider, you know him from the Fourth Period Magazine, you know him from NHL Network, yada yada. David Pagnotta. We had a great interview, like we said at the start of the show. But a couple things from the National League that we need to touch on first. Quickly, I just want to read a stat. Quinn Hughes, first player to 30 points as a D-man since Robert Gordon Orr, that is Bobby Orr, folks, since the 74-75 season. So that's unbelievable. He looks like to be the Norris Trophy leader in the clubhouse going into Thanksgiving. One thing I wanted to ask you, Ozzy, and they asked Austin Matthews, a.k.a. Pablo, where would you want the global series to go next? So they've been in Finland, they've been in Sweden, they've done Germany. Where's like an outside the box place you would like to see it? And Austin Matthews had mentioned Mexico City, being his roots are from there. The city's, it's honestly, I've heard nothing but good things. It's got a good nightlife. There's good trim there. 25 million people, a way to grow the game south of the border. But if you're looking at one spot, Azo, in terms of maybe just a little off the board, where would you like to see the NHL go to try to expand the game, but also make it a fun experience for the players?
Yeah. I I'm indifferent on this because, am I deciding, Jordo, tell me, if am I deciding if I'm a player or someone that's working for the National Hockey League that's trying to grow the game? Which
Yeah, I
one
would say a
am
little
I?
bit of both. I think you got to weigh in as a player where they would enjoy somewhere going in, but
Yeah.
also a chance to grow the game, right? I just think there's a few places where that you could find that happy medium in terms of
Yeah.
somewhere in Europe, or if it's Asia, or if you're thinking they went to Australia this year for a preseason game. Where is somewhere that you just think would be a cool spot? It doesn't have to just be an absolute rager and they go over there and party, but somewhere where you can
Yeah,
benefit
no.
both ways.
For sure. I when I think about the going global and trying to grow the game, also have it fun for the players. Um I think about Japan, man, Tokyo. Somewhere in
Yeah,
Japan, Tokyo. These I just know, I think they have a KHL team somewhere out there in Asia where they're pretty popular, and I think, the people over in Asia, I don't want to sound like whatever it is, racist or whatever, but they're just, you know, live action sports and like physical sports to them are really cool to watch because that's just not part of their life. And I think they bring a lot of viewership and money to the game when they do get attracted to a game. I know the NBA makes a ton of money off China and Japan and all those places because those people over there love it because they're like, look at these 7-foot tall guys. You know, we're all, you know, for whatever reason, everyone over in Asia is, you know, a little shorter than the average person around the world. So they look at these big guys like, this is insane. Like, how are they able to do this? It's cool. I just think the same thing could be done with hockey over in Japan, or I know they've been over to Beijing before. I know Dewey was in Beijing with the Kings at one point, but I think just getting that Asian viewership, because there's a lot of them that come over that live in Vancouver even, that are Canucks fans now, and they live in San Francisco that are San Jose fans. I think that could grow the game a lot in terms of the NHL viewership. And if they're playing games over in Japan or over in Europe, or sorry, Asia, I just think that could help the game a lot. And I think it would be a lot of fun for the players to go over to like Tokyo and get to experience Tokyo, which is like the biggest city in the world. That's the safest city in the world. There's obviously something they're doing over there that's cool. And I just think they'd have a good time over there and they'd gain a lot of fans, because imagine these Tokyo citizens watching a game of hockey where you got like a guy like Zach Cassian and Ryan Reeves tilting, and then you got Willie Nylander scoring a highlight reel goal. It's like you're gonna gain a lot of fans from that game, man, and you're gonna that's what it's about for these guys. Like, they're trying to gain viewership, they're trying to gain fans so they can sell jerseys, sell viewership to the cable networks, and ultimately make more money. And I think that's the way to do it.
Spicy tuna, crispy rice, nigiri, snapping it on the sheet. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. They have a pro league in Japan. There's obviously the team in the Russian hockey league, the Continental Kunlun Red Star, who plays in China. They actually have relocated since the pandemic to outside of Moscow. But yeah, I think you're onto something. I mean, a guy like Andrew Kozak, who played at UND, actually played a year or two, I believe, in the Japanese hockey league. I think they pay okay money. He's probably one of the taller guys, like you said, over there, in terms of they have a lot of undersized forwards, if you will.
And he's like
So,
5'10".
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that would be a good look there. I think going into Japan, growing the game that way, people in Asia could see a game that, you know, they don't normally see, and especially in a combat sport like hockey. So I like that. What I had written down was Milano, aka Milan, Italy, fashion capital of the world. I just think with Switzerland being there, Italians, I think Italy for a while there was getting into hockey. There was a lot of guys going overseas in the early 90s to maybe even early 2000s of playing professionally in Italy. They were paying decent bags, and now they've kind of got away from that. So I would like to see maybe Italy get back in the mix. Another place I had written down was Barcelona, Spain, because oh my God, does that city snap? The nightlife's unbelievable. Spanish people, I don't think they know a ton about hockey, but it's something I think you could maybe even go in there and tap into with their, you know, culture of soccer being so big. And I don't know, I just think there's just some of these places where you could go in where hockey could be a part of their culture slowly.
It's all about gaining viewership,
You just
right?
got to
Like,
watch
it's
a game
just,
live. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know,
yeah.
places where it's not viewed as much and not seen in person, because when you watch a game on TV, it's so much different, as you know, when you're watching it live. So some of these places, I think, where you could go in and really provide that wow factor to grow the game globally would be a really big chance. And I think going into Sweden and as much in Germany and these places, like, I think you're just kind of doing the same song and dance, you know, the same year over
They
and over
already
again.
know
Where they
hockey.
already
They
know
already
hockey.
like it.
There's a
Yeah.
Sweden, it's just for the players to get exposure in their own countries. Finland, same thing. And Germany, more or less now, the same thing as well, with the German league being really good at the professional ranks and a lot of good young players coming up through that system. So, yeah, I just wanted to ask you the boys that and get your thoughts, Azo. Last little bit we'll touch on in terms of hockey. I just thought it was hilarious. The Twitter altercation Mark Spector and Tim Peel got on. So to provide a little bit of context here, folks, Tim Peel, a former National Hockey League referee, Mark Spector being the beat writer of the Edmonton Oilers, got in a feud on DMs on Twitter last night over, I think Spector asked McDavid a stupid question like, would you rather win a game 7-5 or 4-1? Well, yeah, no shit, buddy. We'd rather just win the game. But if it had to be one of those, it would be 4-1. So Tim Peeler, I think he was probably sucking on the Don cherries, aka the grapes, which is the wine, folks, the red wine, the grapes. Probably late last night, he was firing off some messages, and then he ended up tweeting a screenshot of their conversation from the direct messages. It was just so funny to see, like, number one, these guys are like 60 years old, sub 60. They're getting in a fight on Twitter about a question a reporter asked from from a side of things that, yeah, that was probably stupid, but like Twitter fights are just undefeated odds. You got a former referee going at it who's supposed to be laying the law to us, Spectre, who's kind of like a nerdy reporter. I just thought it was so funny. Like a couple old guys just duking at it on Twitter, like telling each other to fuck off and get bent. I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, and there's people, obviously Frank Cernovelli or whatever hopped in and jumped on Spector's side and, came in at Tim Peel and he's like, oh yeah, Peeler, you're gonna jump on a guy's back while he's doing this, oh yeah, why don't you go hop in and berate a couple other teenage refs, eh? Because I guess there's a story out there that Peeler went into a teenage, a reffing room, bunch of teenagers reffing a game, and Peeler yelled at him, for reffing the game wrong or whatever. And all this shit's going, yeah, all this shit's going social or whatever, and people are getting pissed at it. It's like, you know what, guys? On both sides, this is great for the game. We need this attention. People love these fights between the media and the refs, and I'm seeing on Peeler, like Peeler tweets out this conversation he has with Spector, and it's like people are like, oh yeah, you're tweeting out a private conversation. Well, honestly, Peeler didn't sewer Spector at all. He's like, I thought it was a funny conversation. Spector was saying funny things. Peeler was saying funny things back. I thought they both looked funny. I didn't dislike any of them from that conversation. I thought that was unbelievable. I like both these guys. Like, they're fucking hilarious.
It was funny because Peeler's just like, it was a stupid question, buddy. And then Spector goes at him for being like a bad referee. And he's like, fuck you. I never liked you anyways, you fucking phony. It's like, oh my God, boys. Like,
fucking fraud.
Oh yeah, you've always been a fucking fraud, buddy. It's just, it's so funny. And then Frankie Saravalli, aka Frankie Meatballs, has to hop in and like save his journalist and take his side.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
But then Peeler's getting chirped. Peeler's getting chirped for berating referees, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know anything about the story, and now all of a sudden I see Peeler went and berated a couple teenage referees, and I'm like, God damn it, I respect that.
Yeah,
this guy's trying to get the most out of his referees. He's part of the game. He wants to protect the brand, the referee brand, and he's trying to get these guys to ref a good game. What's wrong with that? This guy's one of the most legendary referees there is.
It was so funny too because he was coaching in his son's game, I'm pretty sure, and there was like a couple shitty calls in that game. It was a few years ago, and he like stormed his way into the referee room like any psychotic coach coaching a U10 AAA team would, and just put the screws to these referees, these kids in St. Louis who were like so obviously they tell their parents, and I think Peeler even had like a restraining order of some sort, not a restraining order, but like a ban from that ring for a couple years, never to be can't go back into a referee room. If he does, there's repercussions. It's like, oh my God, man. Like, Peeler, are we really talking about he missed a hooking call in your son's game? Like, come on,
yeah,
like, just give it a
That's
rest.
pretty rich. That's pretty rich coming from Peeler. That's hilarious. And it's coming from an NHL ref who's probably missed so many goddamn calls.
Oh yeah, Peeler's the guy that when Robert Bortuzzo, I was scratched for the game, that he shot the puck off a Peeler in the corner. It was like a dump in from the red line to the goal line. It hit Peeler in the dick and then somehow went straight right, just on an angle at the net. So like Peeler was sitting in the corner on the goal line. It hits him in the dick, the dump in, and it squirts like straight across the crease and goes in. I forget the goalie, but Peeler scored a goal in a game. How funny is that? So Peeler's got more goals than me. Holy
Peeler's
fuck.
got a National League goal.
Peeler's got more goals than me. So shout out to Tim Peel. I think he likes to Dave Tippett the bottle back and have some fun. So boys, before we get to Super Wednesday, just wanted to share one last story. It was from a little segment we were kind of drawn up before. Good dude, tough skunk. It just the association, man, the NBA. It's an undefeated league. Just the stories that come out of here. But anyways, I don't know if you caught it. New Orleans Pelicans forward Brandon Ingram, his baby mama, Aaliyah Petty, no relation to Tom. announced earlier this week she is having a child with Blazers guard and Fernie Simmons. So talk about securing the bag. I mean, and she looks kind of hot actually, but how funny is that league? These guys are just passing around girls, like goddamn lottery tickets, Ozzo. It's just hilarious that Brandon Ingram's baby mama is now having a kid with another dude in the league, like that's just the association to a T. So I just had that teed up for good dude, tough skunk. Thought that was hilarious. Ingram, I mean, he probably doesn't even bat an eye. Maybe he gets to share a little of the child support. I don't know how you work out those negotiations.
Yeah.
We won't get into details, but just thought it was funny. What a league, man. What a league. So, boys, Super Wednesday tomorrow. Thanksgiving edition over here. Have a good holiday, fellas. Can't wait to see what you get up to. I don't know what you got going, but we'll chop it up on the other side. Let's send it over to David Pagnotta from the Fourth Period Magazine. Fellas, crispy rice, spicy tuna, that was live in 5. Whoa. Folks, we are now pleased to be joined by a guy that has covered the National League for, well, DP, I would say damn near 20 years. You know this fella from not only having a solid base tan, but from the Fourth Period Magazine, Sirius XM Talking NHL, and the NHL Network. He also has worked his way into being one of which I consider a top 4 to 5 insider in the game of hockey. A well-respected man. Please welcome David Pagnotta to the Live in 5 podcast. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, what an intro. Holy cow. Thank you. I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Just popping in here on a Monday, live from Scottsdale, hanging out. So, no, we wanted to thank you for joining us. Obviously, you covered the league for a long time. And has it been 20 years, DP? Before we get into just your background, like how long have you covered the game?
Yeah, it's been about since I was, I think, 18. You got like everyone's playing, and I'm the guy on the outside that's just kind of. I sucked, so I couldn't really get into it. So I kind of backdoored it a little bit and went this route. But yeah, just about almost 20 full time. Let's see, probably around 16 years now, full time. But all together since I dove into it, yeah, we're at 20 now.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was just
That's
doing a
awesome.
little research. I was doing a little research on you. I was looking, at your LinkedIn page, even just kind of popping in and, doing my pre-scout, doing my due diligence on you. And it
Nice.
sounded like from what I was reading, you got your start in sports dating back to kind of like 1999 as a part of like an OHL off-ice official. You were covering the Blue Jays a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah. When I first got into it and realized that I'm not going to be good enough to get anywhere on the ice, I was living in Mississauga at the time, just outside Toronto, and the then Mississauga Ice Dogs were around. They were looking for an off-ice official, and I threw my hat in the ring and kind of got in on that. So I did everything from, penalty box keeper to goal judge, shot clock guy, pretty much everything, stats throughout the rest of through each game and stuff like that. So I was there. Ludzik was a head coach. Don Cherry was a head coach one of the years while I was there. That was fun.
Grapes.
Yeah. He was giving it into everybody every game. So yeah, I kind of started that way. Did some stuff with the Jays a little bit afterwards. I was big in baseball for me, so that was a nice little trip. But then hockey just kind of stuck with it, and just kept going from there.
So you get your start with this OHL team. If you back it up even prior to that, as a kid growing up in the greater Toronto area, you obviously were playing hockey, right? And it just kind of came to a point where maybe it was a crossroad or it wasn't going to work out in the OHL, or what was like your upbringing within the game?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up. So I was a teenager when I moved to Toronto with my family. I grew up in Montreal, originally from Montreal, and I wasn't really allowed to play. Italian family, so I wasn't really allowed to get into the hockey side of things too much, the physical side of it, and like football, not a chance. Like that was, my parents were like, nope, go play soccer. And so I did that for a bit. I always loved hockey. Was trying to get into that, but I never really got my kind of feet under me in that regard. So I played baseball. That was a big thing for me. kind of getting away from soccer. Baseball was always the big one. My buddies would all play hockey. I'd play street hockey and stuff like that, and kind of mess around on the ice a little bit on the ponds and whatnot. But never really was able to take that next step. So while I was playing ball, hockey was always my kind of go-to and escape, and that's kind of just where I ended up going. My knees are toast, so baseball was pretty much done for me, and pretty much any other sport really. So that's kind of how I got into the whole hockey side of things even more. Once I got to college and university, that's when I started kind of fourth period to really start grinding away at it and pushing it a little more. And some buddies of mine would be letting me know kind of what's going on with their teams and stuff like that. I'd be looking around for different interviews, and started up the fourth period.
Yeah.
Back then, teams would call me back. Deeper voice kind of helped when you're like 18. So teams would call me back, and GMs are leaving messages on my house phone that my mom's voice is on the answering machine, and it just kind of worked out, and just kind of kept kind of grinding and rolling from there.
Yeah, so you get your start there, and you've always had. I mean, I don't know you too well, but I follow you on social media and things like that. And it was working with a guy, and probably even seen it firsthand with a guy like Grapes Don Cherry with those
Yeah.
3-piece suits. A good look. It almost looks like a '70s couch. Maybe somebody shot it, but you've always had that good style too. So is that just the Italian background? Maybe growing up at Montreal, or are you taking some notes from Grapes back then? And be like, hey, fella, this guy's looking pretty mint. I got to be stepping my game up, because when I do hit my stride here, I got to be
Yeah.
looking clean.
Thank you. It was a combo. It was a combo of the Italian side. And then looking at some of the stuff Grapes was doing, I'm like, I'm not pulling that off. I'm not going double breasted
Right.
every night. I'm not going high collar.
Yeah.
That's a good style. Let me see if I can kind of dumb that down a little bit to make it a little Italian, if I can.
For sure. Maybe
the
not
thick
full Windsor, go half Windsor
Yeah.
with the tie.
Yeah, exactly. Take it down a notch, loosen up the collar a little bit. Maybe throw in a nice pocket square, and just keep it clean. So that's what I tried to do all the time. And 1 year, the NHL awards used to always be in Toronto a lot, and I took my dad 1 year to the awards. He wanted to go see what I was doing, so I took my dad this 1 year. I'm in like a pinstripe suit. I think I was I don't know, maybe 18, 19. My dad comes downstairs in this mustard Goodfellas style suit, black tie, black shirt, and everything, black shiny shoes. Take him to the awards. We're out there, and I go to the washroom, and Brett Hull and somebody, I can't remember who else it was. We're in there as well. They're going to get a load of this freaking mafia guy in the mustard suit. I'm just keeping my head down. I'm like, that's perfect. That's my dad. He's gonna love that. He was quiet the whole time, just standing there, just this like stoic kind of figure, just in a corner, just looking at everybody.
So Brett Hull and the boys thought he was part of the mafia. They're all scared of him.
My dad could play the part. He looks the part.
Yeah.
Definitely. And he's just quiet, just sitting there, his black hair all shined back and everything, with this mustard suit, black shirt and tie. And all the boys out there were like, who the hell is this freaking guy? Let's just stay away from him, be nice. So he looked good. So just try to keep that, just kind of keep the style going. I never went that hard, and I never went super hard on like Grape style, but I just kind of kept it clean.
Yeah, you gotta find that, somewhere in the middle of that flamboyant look, or because you gotta be looking mint, DP.
Yeah.
But just getting a little sidetracked here. I just wanted to stay on Hully just for a quick second, because my brother actually, he's living in Nashville now. He's doing stuff at that Troubadour. I think he does like Discovery Land projects, and kind of getting those things going. And Nick and some of the Coyotes were fortunate to play with Hully on Sunday after their game. They had like 3 or 4 days in Nashville. They just got off like an 11-day trip, and I think they were sitting, at the bar at the restaurant at Troubadour after their round playing with Hully, and they were talking about how good Connor Bedard is. And one of Nick's teammates, I'm not going to name his name, was like, man, he's got the best release of all time. And then Hully just like out of nowhere, he's second best release of all time. It's just like, it's so sick. Yeah. Like, dude, that guy is unbelievable. And even just coming up through like the St. Louis ranks, he was always around the team. And oh man, those stories about Hully that guy, he might be the coolest guy to ever play hockey. Like, just talk about a full-time beauty.
Oh yeah. I never really had much of an opportunity to hang out with him too often. I think maybe one year over one of the Hall of Fame weekends, he was out with a bunch of people that I was kind of with, and yeah, he still knows how to have a good time. Doesn't hold back. A lot of those boys back in the day still do. Gretzky still, maybe
Yeah.
now he's on TV a little more, so he tames it down a little bit, but maybe. But some of
I don't think they're missing too many happy hours, so I
no,
think they're still getting it done. But
yeah,
DP, I wanted to transition into, what you're doing now. And I know a little bit about it in terms of the Fourth Period magazine. You're doing stuff
yeah,
on Sirius XM, NHL Net, but I wanted to dive into this Fourth Period magazine that you said you started when, you were maybe just a kid in college or just coming out of it.
yeah.
Like, you're always around the NHL awards, you're around the draft, you're putting on these events at the All-Star game. Like, it's really cool. And I just wanted to learn a little bit more about exactly what it is in terms of the relationship with the NHL and how it kind of all goes down with the awards, the draft, and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the website kind of started and just throwing some news and stuff out there, and about 10 years ago I was looking around and I'm like, there's just not, I mean, about 11 years ago actually, and I'm looking around and there's not really, there wasn't really much that's being pushed from the player side of things in terms of like propping them up on the pedestal. It was always, and the league is slowly starting to get out of this, or at least they're saying that. But it's always been, crest and team first and all that, and trying to push the individuals was always and always has been a bit of a tough, slippery slope for the league for whatever reason. Right. So I was just like, you know what, screw this. We have an opportunity here to really highlight these guys in a different light. And whether they were friends of mine or just guys I've never known, or that I eventually got to know and just whatever, like strangers basically, everyone's got a cool story. So forget about the on ice stuff. How's everybody off the ice? So we started the magazine and kind of on the lifestyle side and just get to know everybody. Take the helmets off. Who are these guys? What do they like to do? Where do they like to eat? Where do they like to vacation? What do they do outside of hockey? And just kind of get into that whole element of it. And basically created a men's lifestyle magazine with the hockey twist to it. And just kind of grew from there. And threw some celebrities in the mix and other things and just kind of kept it going.
That's a great idea. Jordo and I always talk about that, how we think the NBA and the NFL does a great job at,
Yeah.
kind of giving you, showcasing their characters and the personalities of their players and their leagues a little better than the NHL. Like, have you found like some of the NHL guys are a little more standoffish in that sense, where they're, not as apt to share some of their personality and character with the fans, just because that's kind of the way hockey is, right? Like, you just
Yep.
answer, most typical answers you can and try to stay, low key and just, try not to make any waves in the headlines or anything. But, do you have like certain philosophies you can get these guys to answer some of these questions and
Yeah.
kind of get a little more out of them?
Well, I mean, look, obviously different breed compared to NBA guys and football guys and even baseball guys and whatnot. So one of the things that helped us, you mentioned some of the like events that we do and whatnot with awards and draft and All-Star weekend and everything. Back in the day when they started in Vegas, the awards, we noticed there wasn't really much else going on. So we started to throw some parties for some after parties and stuff like that for all the guys that were there. And we do a gifting suite every year for both of these events as well. So we got to know a lot of these guys. We built a pretty strong trust factor and trusting relationship with a lot of guys that some of them became really good friends of mine and very close friends. And the word of mouth kind of comes out, and you trust the guys that you know. And for me, it's kind of I do the inside stuff, but at the same time I do all this other stuff that's so behind the scenes. The trust factor is there, and for me to potentially break that trust, everything would just fall apart. There's no way that I have any interest in doing that. So that has continued, and that's allowed for some of these guys to open up in different different ways. Like, not everybody is going to have the outgoing personality and want to have the spotlight and whatnot, but everybody definitely has some kind of cool story. So to share
Right.
something of that Doesn't have to be the big hoopla, kind of fireworks type of display. But let's talk about your fashion. Let's talk about, your pregame rituals, your postgame. What do you do in the off season? How's your training regimen like? Just different things that are a little bit off the ice that people want to know. And again, everyone's got some type of different story to share. And if we can put it in the right light, that's kind of the goal. And everyone's been pretty receptive to that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because now you're starting to see some of those guys, and it's probably you've
Yeah.
seen a little bit of the evolution where it's coming. You see guys like obviously 34 Matthews, who
Yep.
he can swag out, show up to a game looking whatever kind of fit he has. It's almost leaning towards that NBA look, and even a guy like Willie Nylander now going on that talk show
Yeah.
or doing that TV series in Sweden. He's got the white beater on like he's Justin Bieber. He looks like he
Yeah.
just went down the frozen food section at a Whole Foods. He's got the stiff nips going. Like this guy, he's got the earrings. So there's guys definitely now that are willing to express themselves. I think they see that they
Yep.
have a little bit more of a platform than, traditional hockey players. And I just think that that's how you come up though, DP, is just everything's kept in house. You have a lot of old school GMs that you're not supposed to be a distraction to the team, but in the same sense, you should be able to show and showcase who you are as a person, because that is ultimately what people want to see. They want to see the characters of the
Yeah.
game. And you mentioned how you have that trust with guys over the years. You've built it through, throwing shakers at various events, or even just being a good guy and someone that they can lean on to do an interview with, and you're not going to sewer them or whatever. But is that how the insider kind of came into play with you, working with the magazine and then evolving into honestly like a jack of all trades within hockey? And now that you're breaking trades, brother, you're almost on the Mount Rushmore list right now. I think in my insider power rankings, I think I got you at 4 or 5 right now. Like you're doing well with it.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm up there yet, but thank you. It's helped. It's definitely helped. Like I've when I started fourth period and everything, I have some buddies a couple guys that are still playing right now, and a few guys that have kind of veered off a little bit and called it a career. But that kind of helped. And then with all the events and with the magazine and everything that we do, building those relationships has also helped in that regard. I don't make it a secret. The league kind of definitely knows this too. I'm definitely more on the NHLPA side than I would be on the NHL side in terms of my relationships and where my kind of loyalties would lie. And in the last mini lockout or whatever it was, you certainly see the direction that I go in, but and for good reason. At least I think it is. But building those types of relationships has expanded my kind of Rolodex a little bit in terms of getting in there with managers and teams and people within organizations, just almost as much as my relationships are on the player side and agent side. So a lot of that has helped in terms of being able to track down information and get news and get some material that I can either use now or use later. A lot of the stuff that I come across, I mean, like 75% minimum, you can't really come out there and put out.
Right.
And the stuff that you can, put out there, you have to fine tune it. You have to make sure that if it's not directly from the horse's mouth, you've got to make sure that you've got the right info, and that what the people that are telling you stuff aren't just telling it to you because of their specific agenda. So you've got to make sure that you cover all your bases to make sure that the information you're getting is right, and that you're not being used. I mean, look, at guys in leagues and stuff, they're going to use us steady, right? But you want to make sure that the way that this message is being put across is done in the right way, where you're not pissing off the other side, and you're not. An agent's not going to call you and say, Dave, what the hell was that? Like, why you could have just called me and texted me. I could have given you something and massage it. So I always try to make sure that I'm right down the middle as best I can. Now, again, if it's from directly the source, and whether it's on the team side or player side, different bit of a ball game. But when it's kind of the beat around the bush kind of thing, you got to make sure that the info you get is right, and that's really what it comes down to. You get beat on it, whatever, cool, good for them. Doesn't really matter.
How do you determine where that line is? Because you are, technically supposed to be on the player's side, but we all know in media sometimes, you got to write bad things about certain players because that's what people are going to listen to, and you got to be honest. So, How do you
Yeah.
know how to tiptoe that line of like, I don't want to make these players mad, but I do want to call them out for maybe not playing well right now or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
How do you find that line? Is it just kind of feel it out, or just through experience through the years?
For,
Because obviously you're gonna piss people off eventually.
oh
That's
yeah.
just the name of the game.
Yeah. And I do that. I
Yeah.
get calls and texts and okay, buddy, let's see you after the game. Let's talk this out. Um, for me, when it comes to kind of analyzing guys or teams or whatnot, I just try to be honest. Like, I'm not going to say something that's going to sewer somebody or come out of left field, and they're not going to know. Like, I'm not going to surprise anybody by saying something that they don't already know. If you're in a slump, you know you're in a slump. Like, if you're
Yeah.
playing like garbage, you probably know that you're not playing too well. So you try to say it. You try to be as respectful as you can. There's entertainment, but there's also being a d-bag in how you're
Yeah.
dishing out certain things.
Yeah.
So I don't want to toss anybody under the bus, but I'm not going to I can't sit back and, well, he's having an off week. He'll figure it out. Like, well, no. Why is he having an off week? What's been happening with him? What's he doing differently in his game? What does he need to potentially change? Maybe he's playing hurt. Maybe there's this, that, and the other. So you try to be honest with it, and then you try to get that type of information too. Is something bothering you? Is something nagging you? Is there something off ice? Like, how can I massage this a little bit where I'm not just throwing you through the ringer right now.
Yeah.
I can back you up a little bit and maybe have other people kind of understand it.
Yeah.
Especially like from the info side of things with contract negotiations, for example. Some teams will be telling you one thing because they want like, this is part of their agenda. You're going, okay,
Mhm.
well, I could run with this today either on TV or on web or radio or whatnot. But I always, you want to check in with the other side to see if there's anything that they want to tell you as well. You try to find that happy medium as well to make sure that right message is being across. Now, sometimes they don't get back to you right away, and you roll with the information that you get, and then you deal with the consequences afterwards. But nature of the beast sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that is such a fine line to tiptoe because even when you are getting information, like you said, 75% of the things that come across your desk, you
Yeah,
probably can't even use. And at some
yeah,
point, you
at
got to make a
least.
decision. Am I going to tweet this out? And is this a burger? Or is this legitimate? I feel like you have to
Yeah,
trust your sources, which you do. But at the same time, there is risk in what you're doing, and especially to calculate it and be like, okay, do I really have this confirmed? So
right.
that's something I think is a skill. I've always been intrigued by the insider game. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous, or I get envy of you guys because it's pretty cool how you're able to get that access to the information. Even a guy like, I call him Frankie Meatballs over in Philly, Frank Saravalli. Like, he had that whole Seattle Kraken team picked before the fucking list even came
Yep.
out. It was crazy, but.
Yeah.
VP, I wanted to get over to the National League a little bit. Me and Ozzo had a few questions for you. And I guess just starting at the
Yeah.
top, we have a lot of fans that are or listeners from the state of hockey. And big Minnesota Wild fan. That's kind of our home base, even though I'm down in Scottsdale. But I
Yeah.
think just the connection there with a lot of fans in the North. Like, what are we hearing about the Wild? I mean, and I get it. They're pretty handcuffed at the moment with, that buyout of Suter and Parisi of about $15 million in dead cap space. But is it time?
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to get another coach fired because, we see a guy like Jay Woodcroft with a shelf life of about 2 years. But it just seems around the National Hockey League these days, these guys get about 2 to 3 years and then they're canned. Has Dean Evison squeezed all the juice he can out of this Minnesota roster, or is this just a lack of depth and not a whole lot of cap space or wiggle room? Because they just seem like they're a little bit checked out right now. And I know how that guy coaches. I played against him in the American Hockey League. He was in Milwaukee at the time. It just seems like he's an old school guy, and for right or wrong, he seems like a yeller, a screamer, a very demanding coach. And to me, those
Yeah.
guys always run their course a little bit. And guys, for better or worse, they start tuning them out a little more and a little more. And it just seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect in the state of hockey. So I wanted to get your thoughts on where a guy like Billy Guerin goes with that roster.
Yeah. I think it's a combination. I think it's a combo of being handcuffed by the cap, so your options and your ability to deepen your roster are a little bit limited. Plus, when you're losing or not winning consistently, that barking can get a little old pretty quickly. So you've got to find that kind of middle ground if you're on that team going, okay, look, and I think Billy was pretty straight up with everybody on that club when the season started. Like, look, boys, this is where we're at. I'll try to fix some holes. I'll try to make us better. I'll try to do what I can. But the reality and the nature of the beast is we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We don't have a lot of flexibility. So you want to make things right. You want to fix things. You've got to be able to do it on the ice. So, and then if I can add, I'll add. So it's not like he was throwing all the blame or all of the potential blame if the team doesn't do well to the guys in the room on and off the ice. He was just being legit with them, saying, look, this is where we're at. In the next couple of years, it's going to be tough sledding, and then we'll be able to kind of jump up again. But when you're not playing consistently, not winning consistently, when you go overseas, you lose a couple games, after making that trip, that can wear on you a little bit. So I don't know, and I haven't really heard too much in terms of potential change behind the bench right now. You're hearing a little bit more maybe in a couple other spots right now. I haven't heard much on the Minnesota side. But I think this is more of we got to try to figure this out internally. They obviously believe in a bunch of guys on that roster. That's why they dished out extensions to 3 or 4 of them right when the season started. But it's going to be a combination of let's fix this internally and then see if he can work his magic Billy can off the ice.
Yeah,
for sure. And I just think a guy like Kaprizov, I don't know. I mean, he still has 10 goals, 5 apples, 17 points in 15 games, or whatever it is, or 15 points in 17 games. I just think, I don't know. I think they're handcuffed, like you said. Hartman, I think, is a really good player, but on a Stanley Cup team, he might be a third-line center. Can he play 2 center? Probably, but I don't know. It's just interesting to see what they'll do from there. But another guy I wanted to ask you about, DP, was, and it's a dumpster fire over in Columbus, if we're being honest, but a guy like Patty Kane, like, where do they go with a guy like that? I mean, the Finnish Flash, 2.0, he's a guy that could score 40 goals. He's also a guy that, he might be walking around with a cloak on for 10 games, and he gets healthy scratched last night. Like, where do you go with that team, and what do you do with him? Do you just ride his contract out? Because essentially that contract at 8.7 for the next 2 years, I believe, is essentially immovable.
Is that guy still just playing Fortnite till 4 a.m. or what? Wasn't that the case in Winnipeg? I thought he was playing too much video games or something.
Yeah,
that's got to be. Yeah,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the case now or what the hell's going on, but you look at that group. He's only played 9 games. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist. Johnny Gaudreau's got 2 goals. He scored his second the other night in 19 games. You go up and down that roster. And I looked at this roster at the start of the season. I'm going, okay, there's potential here. They added to the blue line. They brought in Severson. They brought in Provorov. You add Fantilli to the mix. Some of the younger kids should be given more of an opportunity. Cole Sillinger and the rest of that group. Could I see them battling for a wild card spot? Yeah, I definitely, at the time, that was my mentality, that this team probably has enough in the tank if things are going well for them to be, or at least be in a position to play meaningful hockey once we hit April. And no, man, I was friggin' off. Like this group, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to get it together. Now, whether it's Vincent behind the bench or the system isn't complementary to what they've got, or it's the wrong pieces that are in place and the guys aren't gelling together, I'm not quite sure yet. And I'm supposed to head down there at some point next month to kind of try to get some kind of idea as to what the hell's going on there. But with Laine, first of all, nobody's taking that deal right now by any stretch. And, he's always been a guy, even when he was potting in 40, like there were always the head games with him. Like you've got to make sure that he's clear between the ears and everything's good and that he's not second guessing himself. He's not, questioning himself or battling himself. And that's when things tend to kind of go smoothly for him. Once he starts to second guess and he's gripping too hard and he's trying to do too much, and then he just gives up on plays, for him, it's like a long stretch of 15 games where it's just, you just feel like shit the entire time and you can't get out of it. So I don't know why that's still a thing for him. Maybe he doesn't have the right support in place. Maybe he needs some buddies there or I don't know exactly what it is. He's a different beast, different character. and that's totally cool. But you have to have the right people around you as well to kind of help you out and get you out of this little funk. Maybe he needs that kick in the ass right now with that benching last night, or the just being cleared out. So come back, start anew, and hope that you get things going again and rolling again. Because if you can't, I mean, it's going to be tough sledding the rest of the way. We're not even at the halfway point by any stretch.
I know, and it's crazy to watch him play because he's a guy that, when I was in St. Louis for my Cup of Joe, I was in that game that he scored 5 goals, and I was like, man, this
Yeah,
guy, like, he's like fucking Ovi over there. Like, he was scoring every which way,
yeah,
one-timers, wrist shots over the blue line, in front of the paint. Like, it just seems to me that he was always a guy that was very streaky, but it seems like he's just more checked out as of late. And whether that's being in Columbus, being on a bad team, I don't really know. There's probably a lot of things going on there, and it doesn't get off to a great start in terms of, with Babs and pitcher day over there, right? It's just kind of, I feel like the
oh
team kind of
fuck,
had a bad vibe
yeah.
going into it, and now it's plummeting to a point where I don't know.
With
And they have some good veterans on that team. Johnny Gaudreau, great player. I don't know how much of a big time vocal leader he is. Boone Jenner, I think, is that, but yeah, it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see what happens there. And another team I wanted to transition to, DP, was what's going on with a guy like 88 Showtime. He's working out in the Oakville area,
yeah.
which is just a suburb of Toronto. Are we actually hearing that he might sign with the Maple Leafs? I mean, the Maple Leafs at this point don't need
Mm,
another guy with, I consider, soft skill. I mean, Showtime, 3-time winner. He's a dog in his own right, but I just think adding
yeah.
something like that is such smoke and mirrors, where their real focus should be on going to get out a defenseman with a little bit of nastiness, someone that can play in the top 4, someone, even like a Zadorov or a Tanev, some guy with a little sandpaper. But are we hearing
Yep.
actually Showtime might end up with the Leafs?
Well, look, they met with him, and I think they had to, because he's in the backyard. It's a quick trip, so you roll up and you go meet the guy, and you see just where he's at, how he's doing. Is there a fit? And are you going to sign for $1 million? Because if you can, then all right, maybe we can make something work here. And I agree with you 100%. Like, he's not what they need. They need that sandpaper guy. They need that tough. Like, Zadorov would be great. Even before, they were in on him. They checked in on him last summer to see if there'd be availability. Nothing really worked out. They tried to add that more physicality and grit. Scott Laughton was a guy forward, but out of Philly, they offered a first-round pick for, and that didn't work out. So they certainly are looking for those caliber players, and especially on that back end. If you're not going to bring in star goaltending, you've got to be able to have the complementary pieces on that blue line to offset that. And you look at the tree trunks that are in Vegas, and the star power that they've got on that blue line. You can get away with not having a top 5 goalie in the league kind of thing. And obviously, Hill, and he did a fantastic job, and all that. And you step up, you build your confidence, you have a good stretch. It's great. But for a team like Toronto, they don't have one or the other. Like, you don't have an amazing D-core and solid goaltending, and you don't have an amazing goaltender and solid D. So I agree. I think that's what they need to do. In terms of Patty Kane, I'd be surprised if it's Toronto. To be honest, I think
Like what's a
like
number
Dow.
he's looking for? What's he looking for in terms of a number? Is he looking for a 1-year deal? Is he looking for 2? And what's that AAV look like? Is it $1 million?
Yeah,
Is it 3 million? Like, what do you pay a guy that's coming off that hip resurfacing surgery? It's not an easy injury to come back from. And last year he was laboring, man. So like, what does
yeah.
he get? What is it? Is a team willing to give him $3 million? Does anyone have that kind of cash on a contender?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, right? Is it the 1 year, or is it a 3 year kind of scenario? Now, I think at the start of this whole process, and at the start of the season, there was that talk that he does want to play beyond this year. Like, he wants to play for a few more seasons, but because of the injury, because of the nature of that injury and the nature of the recovery, Nick Backstrom going through the similar stuff, and he had to shut it down. There are teams that are concerned as to the health of Patty Kane and the longevity of what he can do this season. And I think that's affected these discussions to this point. Like, I thought he'd be narrowing it down to about 1-2. We're in the second last week in November now. We're hitting Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S. I thought that this would be around when he starts making that decision. This may get pushed to the end of the month, unless something happens here in the next few days. But you're probably looking at that 1 year, and you're probably looking at the $1 to $2 million range. That's my guess right now. As a, kind of, you have to prove yourself. It's not what you can do on the ice. It's just how are you going to react to game situations after the surgery and after the rehab that you've had. So is it going to be better? Are you going to be in a better position than what Backstrom went through? Great, all the power to you, and we'll take care of you in the summer on a new deal if you want to stick around. If not, he'll make up some coin and make up the difference on a, let's say, a 2-year deal next summer with another group. But you're probably looking at a 1 year in that 1-2 range, maybe slightly bit more. But I don't see it being overly significant because, like you said, there's not a ton of cap space. So teams may have to get a little bit creative in making something work, whether it's a team like Florida or Detroit or Dallas. I mean, Dallas has been trying to pull this off going back to last summer before he was, or 2 summers ago, excuse me, when all the talk of they may move him may end up before he went to the Rangers. So I could certainly see them coming back into the mix. We know the Rangers are out of it. Chicago's not going to happen. So it's got to be a good, comfortable fit for both scenarios right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Dallas seems like a decent fit. Dutchy kind of seems like he's reassured himself back into the league, playing well. He's a guy that likes to tickle the 6th string off the ice, as you know, too. So that's probably a good town for him to get a little live music in. Jamie Benn, obviously just a legend that can throw both ways, has a good chin, as I would say. So, yeah, that could be a fit. Ottinger's a good goalie. I just think I want Showtime that was my guy growing up, watching him play, being a kid from Wisconsin. My brother had a chance to play with him for a couple of years, and just that was the team we would watch if we were watching NHL. And I just want Showtime to find a spot, where he can win again and be productive and be that player that everybody knows he can, and have a good last 2-3 years kind of on the back nine as he is. But my last question I wanted to ask you, DP, was just a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, aka Hubie Doobie Doo in Calgary. Like, that guy, he just straight up looks depressed, man. I mean, I've been there too, not into the magnitude of making 10 and a hook a year, but hockey's a tough game, and he just looks like he's having no fun. I mean, even it just seemed like his heart was the whole time in South Florida. You're trading in the Lamborghini for a GMC 1500 with diesel. It's a lot different vibe. You're going from palm trees to, the back booth at Cowboys. Like, man, it's just, you feel for a guy like that. And you just try to, at this point, if you're Calgary and you're Craig Conroy, are you just trying to work with him to get him in a better space mentally, obviously to help the team? But I mean, they're bought in for the next 8 years here, brother.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, everyone's saying, okay, just blow it up in Calgary. Well, you have his contract, you have Uyghur's contract, you have Nas's contract. Like, you can't just blow it up. You have to kind of retool on the fly a little bit. And this group, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to see what they could potentially pull off here. They're not really climbing the ranks. You've got some strong assets you're going to probably end up moving. We talked about Tanev and Zadorov. Add Hanifin to the mix. You got to figure out what you're doing with Lindholm. If you don't want to give him $9 million, well, you better start getting a better sense of what the market is to trade him. So you have those elements that you have to worry about and have to factor in. And there are teams calling about some other players on the team that aren't just on expiring deals. But as you navigate that, you've got to make sure that you're figuring out how to keep him in the right state of mind. And you're right, he does look deflated. He looks, uninterested and checked out kind of thing. Because, he was caught off guard by that trade. Like, they were talking contract, and all of a sudden he picked up the phone and Zito goes, "Hey, man, we just traded you to Calgary." Funny joke. Ha ha. Nope, sorry. Tree's going to call you in a bit. You figure it out. He's like, "What the fuck just happened?" So, like, I get it. That was definitely a tough situation for him, but he bought in. And this team was supposed to be, at least on paper, a lot better, and it didn't work. And the Darryl stuff aside, that was the excuse last year, and it was a good excuse because it wasn't just on him. There were a lot of guys that had some issues. But this was a new year. You bring in a new coach. You kind of set the reset, and you still aren't able to get things going. So this is going to be on the manager. Conroy's going to have to figure a bunch of things out. But at the same time, Huberto's got to figure a few things out as well. And some of the other guys on that roster that are slow or off to, slow starts to the season, they're going to have to figure this out on their own. They've had their team meetings. He's played a little bit better. I'll give him that in the last week. He's starting to kind of find a little bit of a groove, but that needs to continue. That needs to extend. You got to keep him happy, Weeks happy, the rest of the guys there, and then kind of go from there. There's no easy solution when you're not winning in terms of getting guys mentally checked back in. It's a bit of a process, but they got to figure that out. There's no question, and I think they're doing it, but it takes a little bit of time.
100%. Yeah, I before we let you go, DP, I had a question for both of you guys. Just kind of on what we're seeing right now with Willie show me the money Nylander and a little bit what we have in Vancouver. A couple guys on contract years. I'll mention Bess. I'll play devil's advocate here. They're in contract years now. I look at these guys, and obviously they're putting up unbelievable seasons. Like, as a GM, are you guys not looking at these guys and like, all right, these fucking sandbaggers? Like, of course they're playing well. They're on contract. Like, how much asterisk am I putting next to these guys? Like, okay, if I give these guys a 7-year ticket, like, are they going to be as motivated as they are this year? I want them playing like they are this year. Like, if I'm a GM, I want to give these guys 1-year deals, like have them on a contract year every damn year, because it seems like they're playing pretty well when they're on a contract year. So, I mean, how much of an asterisk do you guys put on a guy who's in a contract year, who puts up an unbelievable season, and you're like, well, now I got to pay this guy, but holy shit, I'm a little scared because, if I give him 5-6 years, like, is he going to bring this same game next year?
Yeah, I mean, from my side of things, I look at Willie and I go, okay, last year, 40 goals, 87 points. The year before, he still had 80 points. So it's not the one-off for him. He's certainly going to be asking for more than the 10 plus he was asking in the summer. He's probably going to be in that $11 million range, is my guess, because he's backed it up the last couple of seasons. Like, if he had 50 and 60 points, and all of a sudden he's having this potential 50 goal year and 100 points, then I go, all right, we gotta pump the brakes a little bit. We'll give you a hefty raise, but we're not going to shoot for the moon for you, because this is kind of a one-off. We don't know if you could do it again. But he's climbed. He's gone 80, 87. He'll probably be in the 90 to 100 point range this year. So you kind of justify that. On Petey's side in Vancouver, I mean, dude had 102 points last year. It was a big jump from the 60, I can't remember, whatever it was the year before. But he's backing it up again by pulling this off. And he's a restricted free agent. So you got a little bit more flexibility and wiggle room in terms of how to negotiate there versus Nylander, who's going to be a UFA. But I think Willie's price tag is pretty much, you want to keep him, you're probably looking at around 8 years, $88 million ballpark range right now to do that in Toronto. For Elias Pettersson, I mean, it's a tricky one because you don't have to get something done just yet, and you could wait till the season plays out. But if he cracks 100, and he's probably going to, and you get back-to-back 100-plus point seasons, I don't know. It's tough. Depending on, like, 12 million, is that like? Is
I
that
know,
even?
and he's a center too. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he? I mean, with the cap going up, I think I agree with you. I think it's like 11.5 to 12 for him, which is crazy. It's a lot of bread.
Yeah, and what happens if he continues this pace? Like, he's like him, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes. They're all at the top of the league right now, 28 points a pop in what, 18, 19 games, whatever it is. Like, that'd be great for everybody if that continues, but I don't see that happening. But what happens if he's hitting 120 points this year? 102 last year, 120 plus this year. I mean, it might even be more than that. At least the asking price might be. So
if he puts up 120 points, yeah, I mean, if he puts up 120 points, you're putting the Rod Tidwell jumpsuit on and you're walking into that office and saying, "Show me the money, baby."
Show me the money.
Yeah. So I just think those. I mean, even with Willie, like, the body of work over the 10 years he's been in the Toronto organization, he's gotten better every single year. It's like, they have this sample size of this year, and everything's going well right now. He's in peak flow state. He's the MVP in Sweden. He's the rock star. He ends the game in overtime the other night. I just think all of that is helping his case. But if you look at his body of work over the last decade, the guy has gotten better every year. His feet seem to be even better out of the corners. He's a guy that I know pretty well, just being friends with the family and whatnot. But he just seems like his feet have gotten better. The confidence is there. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't know. If I have to get rid of, I know this sounds crazy, but if I had to get rid of Marner or
Mm-hmm.
Nylander and decide which one I'm keeping, I think I'm keeping Willie, man, especially just the way he
Yeah.
plays in playoffs too. He really elevates his game. He's a fucking gamer.
Yeah. And look, I agree with you. And I'm looking at this team. I'm going, okay, you got 2 more years. So after next season, Marner and Tavares are up, right? So Mitch is going to get a raise over the 10.9, whatever he's getting now. You're not going to be giving JT another $11 million contract. So that'll dip if he stays. You can offset the money. The cap by that time will probably be up. If it's going 4 or 5 now, probably go up another 3, 4 the season after that. You can do it you can get creative in how to pull this shit off. But it's going to be tricky. And you've got to get Willie nailed in now, or else the longer you go, he cracks 100 points like that. That's a whole different discussion, because now he's got till the end of the season with no deal. July is a couple months away, at least, depending how far they go.
Right.
There are going to be teams that are going to be salivating to try to pull this off and see if they can at least talk to him on July 1, because we know that nobody talks before July 1. That's taboo. But like that, there are going to be teams that are going to want to talk to these guys. And if they hit the open market, some teams get desperate enough. Some teams have more cap space. I can give him 11.5. I can give him 12 if he's cracked 100, 110 points. So if you're Toronto, you've got to kind of nip this in the ass pretty quick. I don't know exactly why it's taken this long and why they were playing hardball with him. But you've got to deal with that. And then you got to deal with Mitch's next deal. And if he gets close to 100 points again this season, then that's just going to continue to jump up. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it's not, because you have other deficiencies in your roster for the Leafs side of things. So I don't know. If it's a matter of keeping one or the other, maybe I call Nashville up and see if UC Saros is really available or not.
Right. Yeah, you make a good point there. And I just think it's funny that the Leafs are playing hardball with Nylander. I mean, you saw it with his last deal. He was willing to wait it out until about November, December. Ultimately,
Yeah.
He's outplayed that deal to this point, but his dad was my agent when I was playing in Europe, and he was a guy that sat out, I believe, it almost felt like every year he was in a contract dispute back in his day. And Michael was
Yeah,
a
I
great player
remember.
himself. Like one year, I think like 96, 97, I was talking to him, was like, why did you play in Lugano that year? Was it just a total contract dispute? I mean, he had like 60 points in the show the year before in Calgary. He's like, I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, oh my God. So you just basically told the National to fuck off. I'll be down at Lake Como if you need me. I mean, just you're talking to a guy that
Yeah.
a family that doesn't lack confidence, and they're willing to play that hardball game. So it's just like,
Oh,
I
Yeah.
think, like you said, if you could get this deal locked in, it gives your team and roster and depth chart an overall makeup of where you can kind of disperse this money, going into the following, 6, 7 years, and even on the short term. So no, you make a great point there with even maybe calling Nashville. But DP, I want to thank you for joining us. Last question I have for you. I promise it's the last one. Do you ever get to Scottsdale, brother? Because we got to go tee it up or something. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, we'll set definitely. I'm coming. I think January, just after the
Okay.
new year. So I'll be
Okay.
down for a few games. I was there when they opened up in at ASU.
The iconic Mullet Arena. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the mullet and everything. I got
Yeah.
that gift. And I checked out a couple games last year. So I'll be back in January. We'll have to set it
Okay.
up.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually heading there today. We're doing a little on the glass series with me and the Heat Daddy. So the boys are going to be mic'd up.
Nice.
So you'll have to check that out for some content. But yeah, man,
Definitely.
hopefully get up there for the All-Star game in Toronto this year in February there. Where are we going on King Street though? If I may make my way up there, are we going right to the Jaw of Marble and going to snapping around with Peter Gurgis?
Oh, yeah.
Are we staying away
Yeah.
from that gauntlet,
No,
or
no.
what are we thinking?
No, that entire street, the Peter bombs will be rolling pretty nicely out there. Trust me. Yeah,
Yeah,
that whole area, those couple of blocks, that's
yeah.
probably where you're going to want to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll throw
Yeah.
maybe you have to call your suit guy. You got a tailor there, fella. I need a little 3-piece. I'm heading to Paris, Texan. You know, I'm gonna go snapping around on
There you
King's.
go.
That
Yeah,
that'll
exactly.
be good,
Skin,
man.
crux skin, buttercream.
I'll give you the
Yeah.
the itinerary because it's already pretty much laid out for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday out there. So
I was gonna
it's
say,
going to be good.
I was gonna say I might need your tailor, and I might have to dust off. I'm an LA looks guy back in the day I might have to call your gel guy too. So we'll get it all dialed in, you know, get
There you
looking
go.
crispy, walking in with a good base tan from Scottsdale. So no, man,
There you go. Perfect.
this was awesome. Hopefully we can do it again because I had a lot of fun and always good to hear from
Yeah.
you, your knowledge of the game and things like that. So I want to thank you for joining the fellas over here at Live in 5.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, boys. Appreciate it. Do it again.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah,
Dave.
thanks, DP.
You were smiling by my table, had a call up every one night day. Beautiful mind and body, what a happy ending I see. My mind had been enabled, in the memory you overflow. I wanna be your superhero, or even if I tumble.